Oh enggak nih udah entry.
Kalau masuk, iya baru masuk sih. Habis ini bacot dulu nih. Wih, sponsornya Hana Bank anjir, T1. Halo C, welcome.
Ini mah udah siap-siap mau traffic kayaknya. Coachnya udah pada di belakang juga soalnya.
Halo C, welcome. Nggak ada suaranya. Oh iya.
A different beast that we're looking at here today for T1, so definitely an uphill battle for G2.
It certainly is, and that's a good point, coming into this series, that the groundwork does need to be laid here. For both of these teams, in my opinion, it was a very different look.
Lagu backsoundnya nggak hype gitu.
Looking at their peak, T1 struggle is obviously well documented in summer, but for G2 as well, even though they did end up winning, a lot of the early games looking quite sluggish, having to come back in a lot of the games, and so
nah, kan itu tim ke-1 sama tim kedua.
Even the few games that we have seen really early on, that each of them have truly embraced their own metas and really started to improve on a lot of those.
Kalau G2 kalah, kira-kira siapa nanti gimmicknya ya?
Kan masih bisa G2.
Iya sih, kalau misalnya udah nggak ini lagi G2, udah nggak lolos.
Kalau udah nggak lolos ya
habis
nggak tahu dah. Nggak, paling balik T1 Genji lagi.
One thing that T1 have done, they've stayed true to Guma and Keria, wanting to play really heavy attack bottom lanes, really aggressive, double range bottom lanes in multiple games there. Plus G2, we already saw the Orianna Nocturne combination. It was beautiful, but Nocturne has been demonstrated to work with so many other champions. Genji, of course, using with all kinds of other things.
Speak Nocturne nggak tuh?
Even the Twitch, so the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think of Nocturne as only this champion that goes in, but you have to think about turning off the lights in the team fight and how impactful that can be. We talked a lot backstage, Dagda. You were pontificating on, if you leave the Nocturne up, will we see the Orianna immediately picked up by T1? But instead, it's the Ahri here for Faker.
And that's what I thought we'd see, is the Orianna taken away, and then you'd have some adaptation for something like a Nico or something like that coming through for Caps to try and facilitate alongside the lights being switched off. But they're going to go back towards an Ahri Skarner, which I'm not a big fan of because I think it lacks a lot of damage in that mid lane. But it does mean that you're going to be relying on someone like Gumayushi to come out with something like a Kaisa or something along these lines to really be that damage dealer for the mid game and facilitate this low damage mid jungle combo.
And the biggest thing to me is for T1 is almost always Zeus, and I'm very happy that he's on red side. So
they got
a Skarner
combo.
Have some tank there, but
Combo kemarin nih Ori Nocturne Galio kah anjir?
I think it's huge for T1.
Waktu itu Caps ini juga yang pakai G2 juga ya.
Iya, G2 juga yang pakai itu. Ori Nocturne Galio ya.
And his flexibility was one of the biggest tools that they use, the Galio counter pick into the Rumble and whatnot. But in this game, he's probably going to be.
Tapi kayaknya belum sih.
I think it's also curious if he had to leave for Keria, right? Because I think he has been fantastic in that role where he's been able to get that R5 counter pick, bring out some unusual supports like the Nico and that, and then try and terrorize.
Kalau lagi draft pick ini, coachnya boleh ini kan nyaranin pick gitu kan?
Boleh. Justru coachnya itu yang nyuruh biasanya.
Let's see what they decide to lock in early here before the second round of protection bans come in.
Jax is something Broken Blade's relatively
comfortable. Gragas.
Gragas is going to be the lock. This is a long-term known counter pick into the top lane.
Kangen gak liat packer mewek. Gue kangennya packer yang ini sih, tapi gue nggak bisa nyebutin.
And I have a fun fact, because I was just looking at Zeus stats, and I was scrolling down, and Gragas is one of his top 10 most played, and it is the highest win rate within that top 10 pack at 83.3% win rate, career long for him. Not only is it a very well-known pick into Jax because of the body slam, because you can keep Jax at a distance and deal with the Counter-Strike, but also it is one of his highest win rate champs.
Yeah, I mean, he's been absolutely exceptional when he gets hands on it. I think when you're looking at a combo that is definitely, hey, we want to jump in on top of you with Nocturne, with Jax, with more than likely another engage support for Mickey. Having that disengage off the cats is going to be so important, and you can already see their
suara gue kekecilan.
a lot of those immediately. One on the
Masa
rail
sih?
side,
Emang
from
iya,
the
guys?
opposite side,
Suara gue
a lot
kecilan,
of
guys.
anti-dive for the AD carries. The Zaya gone. I wouldn't be surprised with an Ezreal to be taken off the board here as well.
Isa removed by T1, so we're not going to see Gumayushi on that in the bot lane.
Yeah, I think this is the setup for the Ezreal pick. Kaisa kind of your traditional counter to that. And Ezreal at least has 2 dashes that he can try and avoid some of this engage, although it is still difficult. So I wouldn't be surprised with the Ezreal here. Keep the counter pick then for carry on or
Masa sih? Emang iya suara gue kecilan, Cok?
I'm not a fan of this one.
I think
Halo.
a little bit of
Mana
damage.
sih?
You can run Storm Surge Gragas as well if you want. So
Suara
often,
belakang
when we see
ininya kali
RBG, and the
videonya
question
kali
is, where's the
kegedean.
damage coming from in that composition? Gragas gives you a little bit of it. Also, Jin does give you good control.
Suara
around
It's just
T5.
belakang
when
ini
I've
kali
seen
video.
BLG basically run this
Kalau
exact
nggak
same
salah.
comp against T1, it was that lack of damage because you don't oftentimes have your top side with you when you're
Bentar,
play off
apa emang dia
sideways and that.
kekecilan
I
ya?
think that's where you're really going to struggle here as T1 is in this core that's supposed to work around early void grubs and dragon objectives.
Draven!
One Draven.
Anjing, beneran dipakai Draven cuy. BC nggak sih? Tim Mickey sini yang pakai BC kena.
Tadi Mickey mah bisa main apa aja aneh-aneh.
And there's so little backline threat from here as well. Sure, there's a
Kalau nggak Leona belum di-ban. Cuman nggak Leona.
Kenapa nge-freeze nih anjing? Oi, kenapa browser gue nih? Anjing tiba-tiba iklan. Bangke.
So what is ClickUp? ClickUp is an all-in-one
Nggak mungkin Keria Pike. Leona.
So lots of dive here, and how is Guma gonna get to play this game? There is a Orion and Nocturne that's always gonna look for him because Faker's gonna play Ahri, and Ahri has his own dashes. Plus you're gonna have a Nautilus, casting Nautilus all the time. It's like Guma does not get to play.
And that's the big problem for T1 here. You see how much dive there is from G2.
Tapi drop T1 kagak ada damage anjir.
T1 on the other hand do have good disengagement. If the fight gets disengaged, Jin can start to rain hell. He's dashing around the fight. You have the Gragas ultimate as well to split it up. It feels like T1 in multiple small skirmishes might be able to win as opposed to a full-on 5v5.
Yeah, I think it is still a little tough because I think G2 did a good job of getting rid of a lot of these anti-dive tools.
Tapi itu bakal bikin AP kan si Gragas nih.
Gak tau ya, harusnya mah tetap tank. Biasanya kalau udah di pro play gini tetap tank. Makanya ini harusnya nggak ada damage.
Have a good start. It's just a bit, can they have a good early game to facilitate that?
And I will say, T1, they have had some good early. Making it difficult for Hans to play. Leona ultimates, Zay's very, very good Gragas, and Skarner, it's not the same as a Nocturne, but you can go through walls. And something interesting about Skarner, in lane swaps, it gives you a lot more options than junglers usually have. Usually junglers kind of go to lane swaps and just go for jungle camps, but Skarner does have a lot more angles to surprise people from, so very interested to see the setup here.
Bapak siapa nih? Kenapa dijub banget?
Itu Caps, bapaknya Caps.
Oh, pantas.
Yang dari dulu sering banget disorot.
Nonton turnamen tuh kayak gini cuy. Tidak ada mafianya 45 menit. Kok 45 menit cuy. Gamenya segitu ya segitu. Turret hancur ya hancur. Nexus hancur ya hancur. Ini apa cuy? Udah jelas-jelas mafia, curang, nggak ada denda, nggak ada apa-apa. What the fuck? And you guys still support that, bro? Look at this, bro. First blood ya, first blood. Kill ya, kill, bro.
I think the only downside for Mickey is that you're definitely
hell, bro.
passive version of the bot lane matchup thanks to supports. Like Nautilus wants to try and hook.
Toilet ya freeze ya, ini dulu pause dulu, ada technical issue ya pause dulu coy. Kalau ada penonton yang mengganggu tembak pakai laser ya nggak bisa cuy. Aduh,
wah anjir.
Ke cancel ya.
Cancel apa nggak kena ya? Gak jelas gue itu tadi.
Masa nggak kena aja sedekat itu cok? Kayak ke cancel deh.
Iya kayaknya ke cancel sih. Cuman Perfect banget aja tuh timingnya. Kagak kelihatan gerak ya.
Kena Ari berarti kayaknya ya. Ketiga Ari ya atau enggak?
Arinya tadi ngambil charm soalnya.
Masa nggak kena cuy sedekat itu jir?
Kayaknya kena, cuman gara-gara emang itu timingnya terlalu bagus, jadinya kayak kelihatan gak gerak sama sekali ya.
T1, but T1 read G2 reading T1. And they just out mind game them here. Mickey will get back to the lane, didn't burn either of his summoners. But that first blood going over to
Hey, kenapa loading nah?
Gumiyushi is so
Gitu.
Menit berapa Nardi?
back and spend that money.
02 03 sekarang.
Sekarang berapa? 7, 8.
10.
He can look to play
14.
not only item lead, but the fact
yeah.
he's the barrier as well gives him a lot more trading power in the potential all-in. So I think if Owner is able to get down here off of the resets, I think T1 could look to punish further the G2 bot lane.
And if you look at those junglers, Yike is the one clearing
Syaiful
down
Bahri
towards the
bilang
bottom
siapa
side, but Owner's gonna
cita-citanya
make a
dikasih
quick move
cinta
over here.
sama Ahri.
They know
Bukan
that they were able to
aku.
sweep out Mickey's ward, and he's got a path towards Caps.
Has been trying to pressure Faker in the mid
Wih,
lane.
flash. Wih.
Happy feet.
Nice dodge. Oh, is.
So
Gila.
smart of him, dodging towards Faker, even though Owner coming behind him.
Keep calm, man.
Dangerous going towards the Ahri. He's able to avoid both of them, sidesteps the Skarner as well as the Charm.
Just nice job hiding in front of the minions as well, constantly sidestepping so that then you're always having some body block in front of Faker. And now that kind of alleviates a lot of that pressure for Caps in the mid lane. Plus, when you look at the Ike, he just continue to farm up, so he'll get a bit of a quicker reset off and can be back on the map first.
That battle in the mid lane is one we have to keep our eyes on. Obviously, both of these players just
Upgrade speed
exemplary when
internet
it comes
udah
to
pakai
mage play, but
100
at MSI,
Mbps,
with Caps,
cok.
who kind of got out on top of it, apart from
Kalau
a
gua
couple of great
upgrade
plays
di
from Faker
300 bayarnya
across the
800.000
history.
sebulan.
You can see Caps actually has the advantage in terms of
Yeah.
series, but Faker
That
always
lobbies.
comes up in terms of games.
And if you're looking at this year, leading up to this tournament, people probably would favor Caps individually. I think another thing that Gank does in mid, of course, is show Owner cleared bottom side to top side, like guaranteed. They for sure.
Yang di geng cap.
Kena, coy.
Should be very easy for
Yang di geng cap yang banyak Faker.
Owner's positioning already. Yike was able to steal away.
Wah,
Mundur dulu nggak sih?
datengin lagi kah?
Because of the mid lane gank, and now Caps just has to hover down to the bottom side.
Tenang deh coy, masih ada flash coy.
Always a possibility.
Hati-hati kena charmnya. Wah, kena
Wah,
coy.
kena. Wah,
Kelamaan sih dia.
oh, nggak ada damage tapi itu.
Owner walking away as well. Caps didn't burn anything again, and the gank is low HP.
And it's a
Masih
really
chill,
nice job here
cuy.
in the early stages from Yike. He gets the top crab, immediately move bottom.
Kalau view-nya 500 kita dukung T1 guys.
And now you're in a position where
Kalau
you
view-nya
could
500
get
ya.
a nice ATS lead for yourself, Bush.
Zenith played in. Kevin's going to have to flash away.
Oh,
Hansama.
dapat dong. Oh my god.
Hansama on his Draven.
Aduh, nggak lihat gue lagi nyeting aja.
Cashes in. Even though Mickey went down.
Carrier-nya kenapa maju lagi aja itu Draven coy.
Paid here. That's quite nice. That's really going to even up this bottom lane. Let's see what they're going to get on their timers back here, because Dragon also back out on the map, and then you're already looking a minute ahead of time for the grub swap.
Yeah, very messy sort of skirmish there in the bot lane, but the important thing for Hansama on this Draven is he is building up those passive stacks, and if you get a kill
Regroup
without
and
dying, you
finish.
get that extra influx of gold. You can see he's 50 gold ahead right now, but you have to remember Gumiyushi had first blood, so technically he should be ahead if the CS is even.
Yeah, and I think it's just a really nice job here from the G2 bot lane to be able to turn it down. You get the route on towards carry. You didn't have the
Reroute
shot
dulu,
to
eh.
engage. So
Satu lagi.
Hansama is just able to follow up and get
Anjir, gila.
back to when
Enak
G2
banget
were
lihat Draven kalau bisa main
the
deh.
early game team in the LEC back last year. It was this Draven that's often to play around and get these big leads, and able to punish T1 on this bottom side and getting this Draven off to a BF sword start in this bottom lane.
And then there's the swap for Grubs immediately. Duo lane going up towards the top side. Broken Blade wants to try and push a little bit further.
I mean,
Oh,
Zeus
gas.
has
Oh, bisa lagi dapat nih.
Hans has both this
Dipremanin gitu lihat aja.
to put axes into the back
Oh,
of Zeus.
oh,
Oh,
oh.
tapi tetap anjing sakit itu, Cok.
Wah, gak bisa.
Wah, kalah.
Creepnya kebanyakan, creepnya kebanyakan.
Kalah anjir.
Wah,
Oh, what the fuck. Itu bagus banget sih si Zeus
Iya,
anjing.
Zeus fokus banget ulti kombonya tadi.
As
Gak ada ward lagi di semak, anjir lah.
Gila.
Aduh. Kalau solo kill tadi itu, aduh dikata-katain tuh, what the fuck. Kalau dibunuh sama Draven.
Plating dapat banyak itu Zeus sendiri, buset.
Aduh, kata si Broken Blade. PR lah ini mah katanya.
I think the play on towards the top side though really helped out G2 obviously because they do force T1 away, which then gives them void grubs. Traditionally when we see the AD carry swap and you don't move your Draven up towards the top end,
Oke, reset mental.
to outnumber and outdamage you in these early stages, but not having the Draven there still worked out for G2.
Masih aman aja dulu.
And we see that classical exchange, grubs for Drake. As you say,
Itu jungle T1 Skarner
top lane to make sure the grubs were a safe bet, but T1 will happily accept a Cloud Drake for themselves. Most of the action has been around our bot laners so far, but perhaps Zeus here, no flash, does have the explosive cast coming back off cooldown.
Nggak bisa nggak sih ini mengenai
You call off this dive.
Good read from both Carry and G2, spotting that Carry was up there. Broken Blade now trying to force Owner away, but I think it's more of a bluff than anything else. I don't think you want to over-aggress into that, as Cap's completely out of man in the mid lane, and you had the Gumayushi hitting level 6 in that bot side.
I think the grub buff really is going to be critical in this game too,
Masih
because
beda
both of
600
these teams do have
baru
so
nih.
many ways to pick off people in the side lane. So if you can get the towers down quicker, then you're going to open yourselves up to snowball very quickly with
Melayang.
compositions having some of the similar goals. So next spawn of Void Grubs is going to be a banger, boys.
Yeah, that's the important thing. It's the breakpoints at 4 and 6 grubs, right? So the expectation is in about 2 minutes 40 seconds, we will see G2 and T1 making sure they have their top sides prepped and looking for that fight. At the moment, Broken Blade matching into Gumayushi is having a bit of a struggle here, trying to get as much farm as he can, but he knows he's on the weak side of the map. You can see T1 have wards in the river, one towards the Razorbeaks, where Broken Blade has no vision of any approaching enemies.
Yeah, I think as well the fact that Zeus has his TP available is kind of why we're seeing G2 opt into these transferred lanes, because you don't want to have a moment where Owner could potentially play up, have a gank on towards Broken Blade, you then have Zeus TP back in, you can get a little bit of more of an advantage for this Gragas who's already up a nice little bit of CS lead, or CS and gold lead, thanks to that early kill. So G2 at least trying to minimize where the summoner spell advantages are for T1 on the map right now.
He currently hovering around Caps in the mid lane. Faker and Carrier will do the same. This mid lane priority can be very important. Neither of the mid laners have their teleports. Faker's on a slightly longer cooldown than Caps. He used it slightly later.
Ayo cuy, dikit lagi 500 view kita dukung T1 cuy.
Already starting to back away. Realizes that he doesn't have too many friends in the vicinity.
Yeah, I think for G2, what they're looking at is trying to get the flashback up for Hansama, so ahead of this Void Grub fight that is inevitably going to come, but you are going to have the flash for Zeus back up, Gumayushi should be just around the corner as well, so as Kobe was already saying, I think this is going to be an absolute barn burner of his crap, and with the rotations already coming through for Zeus...
Sekarang likes-nya ada 73, 100 like kita dukung Faker, 100 like dukung Faker. Real, no fake, no hawk, no lie. Only truth.
In this first skirmish, thanks to the early gold and the fact you've got so much CC in the kit for the Gragas.
Alam Jonas.
See our first, attempted execution of a Nocturne Orion.
Tahun ini nggak scam, Real. Nah, baru 86 likes ya cuy. Gimana cara mau dukung T1, bro?
Owner already into the river.
They are sending Faker at bot lane. He doesn't have the teleport, so T1 I think need to make some sort of play beforehand to deny the 4v5, and that Broken Blade could potentially
Cunong
TP
bilang
into.
modus
So
doang
they're a
buat
little bit late on the
naikin
resets here for
algoritma.
T1.
You can always
cuy,
go with the
real.
strat of saying, hey, maybe we won't deny you the 4 grub buff, but we'll at least steal away.
Nah, sekarang udah like-nya 112 ya, dikit lagi. Perjanjian tadi 150 dukung T1, 150 like dukung Faker. Karena 1 tambah 5, 6, Faker, FAKER, spasi 6, pas 6.
But they are late. I mean, 5 seconds now in the Void Grubs, and you've got push
Okay,
top, you're pushing bot, so
150.
Broken Blade gets the plates, and you're in position as G2 first. I think T1 have fumbled this a little bit.
G2 will start up the grubs. T1 are looking for
Bakal kemaling gak ini Grub?
fight here. Mickey looking for
Hilang
the bonus,
satu.
stepping forward, eats an axe. Caps and Mickey standing around the side. Caps
Baik nggak sih?
Oh,
paranoia. There's
Wow.
shockwave-nya bagus.
Broken Blade's gonna look to
Oh my god, rata.
kills off Carrier. Owner
Ari juga kena, semua kena. MM dong kayaknya nggak kena tadi ya.
Bentar. Wah.
Aduh, masa kalah,
dapat
Cok?
Draven 2 kill tapi tapi grabsnya jadinya nggak dapat 6.
It seems like Keria is getting blown up so far. The initiation onto him gets him so low that then Yike is able to ult into the backline.
Dravennya tadi mukulin scanner kagak mati-mati ya.
Sekarang like-nya 124 cuy. 4 tambah 2 6 tambah 1 99. Nah, let's go sedikit lagi cuy. 150.
Broken Blade has to flash early, needs to keep himself away from Zeus. That flash body slam combination. Faker has no spirit rush, does have the flash, but
Draven 2 kill masih oke, beda 200 sih. Aman, masih inilah golnya. Gimana salah tadi cuy ya? Ini ulti udah bagus sih. Nah, ini nih kena
Ini
semua
sampai
loh.
dapat 2 udah bagus itu. Iya. Ini kan dapat tuh. Nah, cuman tuh pas corner tuh. Nah, ini kagak mati scannernya anjir tuh.
Kagak mati-mati ya anjir.
Kelamaan. Terus jadinya ngetengin itu kan, ngetengin drops ya.
Grab nih.
the important for Hans on that Draven is he did get a kill before he died, so he gets those adoration stacks again, but you can see it's only a 400 gold lead for him. Now has the Bloodthirster complete as G2 have set up towards the top side, TPing away from bot as well. Broken Blade giving up the ghost
Red harus ini.
on that tower.
Oke, view-nya udah 470, dikit lagi cuy, OTW dukung Faker.
Acting as a distraction as G2 try and rattle their way through this tower. They'll take the second turret of...
Oh, bawah udah hancur turretnya.
Continue to push forward here. 5 grubs helping them out quite a lot in taking these towers quickly.
Terima
And the
kasih
price, of course, that they
senpai.
are going to pay is
Wasit
not only
AFC
the
baru
push
saja
on the opposite
mengirimkan
side, but
dukungan
the
1000.
Dragon number 2 here
Jangan
for
menipu
T1,
macam
which
buah.
owner is able to clean up. Faker,
Enggak,
Oh,
cuy, nggak
anjir.
ada nipu cuy.
Use Zeus caught out with a counter strike though, and Zeus is met with the whirling death. The curtains open.
Waduh, waduh.
Unsummoned so low.
Skip, skip,
Broken Blade
skip.
can tank that up well enough. As
Aman
G2
itu.
managed to escape with a kill. Caps is looking for a little bit more though. Gumayushi has the flash, has the barrier, and I think G2 realize they can't.
Nah,
really
itu
dive
kerjaan
this.
Packer kayak begini doang cuy. Split. Oh no.
Gonna have to place a word so we can hop on out of there. There it is, but as they went for that engage, Mickey hooked on towards Zeus right as he passed.
Yang dapat tier 2 malah.
Nah, ini mah
malah T1.
untung T1 ini anjir.
So much on the map.
yeah, I think the calls from T1 in
Turretnya
response
dapet,
to
plating
that
mid
Oh, enggak,
dapet
belum.
coy.
G2 were very,
Hampir.
very
Mid
good.
doang,
Did
iya.
not panic at all. They also did not over-allocate resources. They only had 3 people.
Anjir,
to defend
recallnya
the
di situ,
side.
Cak.
It's fine if you kill someone,
Iya, itu kan
you're
ward,
gonna
iya,
get a
iya.
return kill and stop your 5-person push. And they just had owner, instead of coming to try and trap, he just pushed mid lane as well. So not only Faker pushing bottom lane, but also getting that push there. It's these small things.
Caps locked against the wall, but knows there's no one else in the vicinity to really be a threat. The game's so even
That's
so
what I was about
far.
to say.
14
7
minutes in.
plates to 7 plates. A lot of the top side objectives.
Gila, imbang banget ini.
For T1. Rift Herald started by T1 here though means that they should be able to get that advantage when it comes towards the objective.
Ayo cuy, masa like-nya cuma 136 cuy. 6 tambah 3 9. Kalian nggak trauma mangka 9 cuy.
I think this is what we were all hoping to see as well, though. Like 14 and a half minutes in, the gold within 100. The difference between the lanes is, well, top side is winning for T1 and bot side is winning for G2. T1 do have those two Drakes in their pocket. Zona secures the Rift Herald as well. There's a possibility of a dive in the bot
Rajin
lane, but
King
I
itu
think
nama
this
championnya ya.
should be a fair.
Mana Rajin
Solar
King?
Flare comes out, Mickey able to walk out of it, only gets slowed up.
Yeah, carry out once again
Kanep
coming
palingnya.
with the defense here under towers. T1 that has been the priority, and now after resetting with Rift Herald,
Oh, nama championnya
T1 have
apa
a lot of
maksudnya?
options for
Yes,
themselves.
karena
Looks like they're going to try and fight G2 off of this bottom quadrant of the map.
Saw this not work out for DK.
Ayo cuy,
yesterday. We'll
satu
see
view lagi cuy.
have a better affair as there's
Oh my god, itu Jax di.
Waduh, Roto dong itu mah.
Iya,
Roto ya.
Roto harusnya.
Yes, 500 view, let's go. 85 lagi dukung T1, let's go. 85 lagi cuy, dikit lagi.
Perfectly. Faker had already moved in towards this bottom side, and the second Broken Blade leap strike.
Let's go.
James was like, "You're all
Semangat,
mine."
coy.
Into the blowback and immediately kill him afterwards. Great stuff by T1.
This Zeus Gragas that he has pulled out here looks like he's going to even further improve on his
Gila sih, Tritri mainnya
with how he's playing.
on point banget ya ini Gragas aja.
have Spirit Rush. Carrier's going to try and keep Cabs busy. Owner comes across the wall with the edge of Ishtal. Will get himself to the blast cone in time. Faker's still trying to retreat down towards the bottom side, but he'll get out as well. And all the meanwhile, Zeus just TPs the top
Bukan
lane and
scam
takes another
cuy,
tower.
soalnya likes-nya belum nyampe 200. Dia butuh like juga 200. Masa yang nonton 500, like-nya 150 cuy. Gue yakin ini bot semua nih anjir. Buzzer semua nih. Ada Yusuf, ada Anwarti, ada Max Raji. Isinya buzzer anjing.
Anjir itu delivery system aja.
It's also really smart just keeping their damage dealers away from the start of the fight. You can see the shockwave hits 3 people, but it's Owner, Zeus, and Carrier, and it's like, who cares? They're tanky enough. So then Faker and Guma come in later and actually start putting the damage down.
And that's where every single fight we've watched, it's been very difficult for G2 to operate with this Orianna Nocturne combo on towards the back line. There you've got a terror in the way.
Midnya udah kalah
They can be separated
1.500.
by the structure. And in the
Top
initial
lane-nya
team fight
1.000.
over at the second Void Grubs, everyone was clumped up, so they
MM
invite
juga
all that to be
700
burst on
doang.
towards the tanks. So T1 are just kind of setting up for these team fights incredibly well.
Opsi lama-lama Draven kalau kayak gini ya.
The damage dealers constantly being safe and a massive threat in these fights.
I think what G2 really need to leverage right now is this Nocturne's ability.
Gila keren banget Bang
to pressure the
Pekar.
side lanes, because at least the tower did go down in the end, even though it has been a little bit rough in the
Padahal
last
cuy tahun
sequence
ini
of
nggak ada
plays for
scam.
G2,
Yang
and
scam
they're
tahun ini
starting to
cuma
drop,
wasit.
a decent amount of gold. They still do have a lot of territory to work with now, and if Yike can get one more level, you actually get a nice range boost on your ultimate, but
Solar Flare. Yike puts up the shroud.
Oh.
In goes the stinger and down into the backline goes Yike. Look at that paranoia. Mickey knocked in.
Anjir masih ada flash bro. Bengong tuh di balik turret anjir.
Wah.
Leonanya
Dravennya
dapet.
kena kah?
Aduh.
Dravennya yang kena.
T1 advancing again. Gumayushi was able to escape. Faker has another Spirit Rush.
Rugi
The
cuy
charm
2
goes
per
wide.
1.
Yike and Caps alongside Broken Blade able to keep
Visi Versa
on
bilang
to
lu
their
temennya
lives
wasit
right now. Zeus,
botak
though, can
ya
look for more.
kur.
Broken Blade stepping forward into the darkness. Rift Tower pushed in the mid lane. That's going to take the tower. And it's only a
Pendragon
Kendrake.
bilang
The T1 really care too much about it. G2 realized
Bilang apa,
they can't
cuy?
fight around it anymore, and they'll back towards the bot lane.
The cask again from Zeus, splitting up that fight perfectly in favor of T1. It looked a little dicey for Gumayushi as they had to flash over the wall, but T1, these team fights consistently going their way.
and this one, yeah, Keria gets focused early, but Keria's a little bit of a bait. Track this Leona throughout it. Broken Blade ends up having to flash to finish him off. But here's a look at that initiation you're talking about.
Yeah, you get the
Itu ulti scanner hitboxnya nggak jelas juga ya anjir.
This looks a little dicey as Gumayushi has to flash away, but it means that there's actually no backline or front line for Hansama. Zeus immediately goes on him. Faker turns on to him. A late cleanse on towards that charm as well means that he can't get the last little bit of damage out. And it's G2. They're getting pulled apart in these fights.
Yeah, we talked a lot about backline threat on Hansama. What T1 are doing so well is having multiple avenues of approach. You can see Faker coming around the back there. You see the initial engage going out from Keria, from Ono, and then they really pincer in on this movement. T1 team fighting absolutely superbly right now.
Yeah, pulled apart and
Lah iya,
pushed
Faker bikin
apart
let's
with
win ya.
Gragas ultimate.
Buat split
Actually beautiful
Apa
stuff there. And again, that did result in multiple objectives because of the Rift Trail that we talked about.
Kayaknya emang buat konstan damage deh. Dia kan soalnya harus di DPS.
In a situation where they are going to have a lot of leverage.
Jin mah nggak mungkin bisa jadi DPS anjir.
G2 really wanted to be in the position this game where they could actually dictate first before these objectives are coming up, but because of how the last few minutes have gone for them, they're going to have to be reactive and come up with some outplays.
But it's going to be really tough because look at Faker's build. Hasn't gone for your traditional, like, pure control mage. He's gone for this split push build where he's looking at the Lich Bane to say, hey, I can start to take structures very well. I can have a ton of threat on side lanes. And it's basically leveraging the fact that Orianna sucks in the side lane. She does not want to be there. She's incredibly vulnerable. And Faker just saying, cool, well, I'm going to push out everything in the map, making it impossible for G2 to try and play through Orianna.
Masih lah cuy, 600 view baru dukung T1.
So T1 can continue to put the pressure on.
And I don't want to like inject false hopium into you guys, but
Mau ikut nobar nggak Yuki?
you might need some right now.
Ada Yuki.
Situations like this are when I've actually seen G2 shine a lot, you know, when they are forced to come back in creative situations. Oftentimes, they'll say, fine, T1 are going to be efficient, and they're going to play all three lanes and close in on us, and G2, like, overload one side with the Orion and the Nocturne, and the Draven ult comes through, and they just, you know, commit to picking off one of the points for T1, and then they kind of surprise you with being somewhere that's not completely optimal, but then they're able to snowball objectives afterwards.
Christian
And try and
Andika
fight their
bilang
way
let's
back
go
into the game
G2,
or
let's
come
go
back
G2,
that way.
let's
So
go G2.
maybe they'll get crafty here
Yoi.
and pull off something. Yike does
Yusuf
have at least his rank
Hidayatullah
2
bilang
ultimate here.
600
Give them a little
views.
bit more room to play
Maksud lu
with.
700 views? Bukannya 800 views.
600 kita dukung T1.
I mean, they did really well versus Fnatic.
Yeah.
You know, I think T1 may be a different beast.
Bang,
Put that one
bisa
out there.
dicepetin
Play
dikit
top,
nggak bang
and then
match
you replace them with whatever suits your current
Imagine
state
if you could
best.
do that.
Ngantuk nggak?
Instead of having the actual opponents, you just replace it with like humanoid. Or, make it a bit easier for G2.
Malam-malam,
Fnatic's number
kelaparan,
this year, but T1
dingin.
have had theirs. 2 series, 2 wins to the LCK number 4 seed, and currently they are looking to make it 1-0 in this third.
Masih butuh 1 item lagi tuh Caps. Ntar katanya.
KUJIRO bilang maksudnya 500k. Dukung T1.
Wow, set.
Goodbye dong, Jinnya kena.
Nongol dikit langsung digas saya.
Bisa nggak tuh ngekill itu?
Susah sih. Si Caps belum
Maksa,
jadi.
coy.
Nggak
Bisa aja nyutus kanalnya.
T1 lose 1, it's only Guma down. Mickey answered in response.
Oh, Kobe, I was meant to say you're a genius. They get the overload on mid, but T1, they respond so well. It ends up being a 1-for-1. Still, Gumayushi off the map.
Yang bisa ngebunuh Skarner cuman Capsnya belum jadi item.
Obviously, Broken Blade can just jump across to this wall, trying to dodge away from the Charm here. Faker with the Foxfire. Charm goes wide. Broken Blade won't be having him any more of that action. Pops the Scryers. G2 trying to set up on this top side now. You can see Zeus pushing out bot, but he's got teleport to join a fight that might erupt.
Yeah, G2 actually drew it up pretty cleanly there. They dropped the top wave, the Faker wave, where Ari was pushing, and they just force on mid, but a little bit too close to the tower in the follow-up, and end up not being able to snowball it as heavily.
Wes, alhamdulillah akhirnya 600 view coy, dikit lagi cuy. Pas 700 langsung dukung Faker, dikit lagi 87 lagi cuy. Semangat. Like kita lihat perjanjian like tadi itu di 200 like ya, kurang 6 like lagi baru kita dukung Faker juga cuy. Let's go.
Keep sight of the soul. So here we
Share ke
go.
grup keluarga cuy.
Test for G2.
And I think at least the cheat sheet for them in this test is the fact that Hans Sama has picked up 3 items. You haven't got the Infinity Edge completed.
Mau tahu hal lucu nggak Kur?
Close to that.
Faker kan punya skin Ari.
When it comes towards the AD carries.
Yo, yang waktu itu
Yang
ditunggu-tunggu itu kan.
yang mahal. Sampai sekarang dia belum pernah pakai di turnamen.
Iya, itu tuh ada di turni dia ngepick itu, orang udah pada nungguin ternyata nggak dipakai aja.
Ujung-ujungnya sampai sekarang makanya klasik ya. Wow, hilang. Siapa itu hilang?
Explosive cards will separate Caps and Hans Sama from the fight. Zeus on that front line, 3 items strong, and he's trying to use them to their full effect. Owner down to about half HP, Zeus low as well. Hans Sama trying to open up on Gumayushi, who still has the
Gumayushi itu positioning agresif banget.
What a pick from T1 on towards Mickey. The fact that he managed to get him out of the fight means there's very little setup. Doesn't even get to use the ultimate to try and set up, and T1 then get to continue marching forward. It is one back on towards Faker.
Diperangin lagi.
Feeling they have the damage to fight this.
G2 with no ultimates. Broken Blade dashing in here, jumping across that wall. Owner, they're trying to smite the Drake. Would be sold for them. Counter strike from Broken Blade. Here comes Zeus.
Wah.
They look for the engage onto Hans Sama, who has to flash away
Jelek
himself.
posisinya gitu.
Broken Blade jumps across the pit, and now Mickey's here to bolster the defenses. Faker on his way back doesn't have the teleport. The Drake
Hilang soulnya.
now for T1. G2 begin to back away from the fight. Realize they don't really want any more of this action. Yikes slowed up though. A hook goes down only onto O.
Wah.
Zeus finds him, and now Yikes running for the hills, locked up with a captive audience. Yike down 2.
Gila anjir itu Zeus itu dia main.
Took the most dangerous route out of that fight, and T1 were happy
Caps
to
kok
collapse.
ganteng ya,
They're going to be able to
Luge.
move over towards the Baron. I don't think he can go for this as a contest here for G2. Mickey, yes, has the ultimate available, but it's 5 members of T1, and Faker is fishing for the charm.
Hans has the Whirling Death, maybe looking for a steal across the wall. Faker back. There's a little bit of vision here for G2. That wall just outside of the pit, giving them a sense of what's going on inside it. Broken Blade looking for the flank. No flash on him, but does have that Grandmaster's might. Mickey looking for the engage, but realizes pretty sharpish that he can't go for it. Still charmed up. Spear rush forward by Faker. There's the curtain calls as well, and it's curtains for Mickey.
Mati.
Carrier takes him. And T1 take the Baron. They are in firm control of the game as Hans Sama's overstepped.
Wah.
Hans
Kalah dong
Zeno
game
bilang
1 gitu
MVP
udah.
Zeus.
T1 6k
Si
ahead, a
bocil
soul,
watak.
a baron, and maybe more of his broken blades charmed. And T1 continue to collapse. The jump away from broken blade will keep them safe for a moment, but T1 are knocking on the door.
Dude, Zeus is just the GOAT. He's
MVP, holy moly.
He is such a playmaker.
Wih, ada Valentino Rossi cuy, gas peker.
God of the cakes.
Welcome.
Really, really impressive. Game number
Zain
1
Moka
here so
bilang
far for
miliknya
T1.
Zeus
And
mantap
after
benar
the
bisa
Baron
bikin
push,
game
already
canggih.
taking mid inhibitor, they have
Iya,
so
Zeus
much
mah
money
emang
to spend.
jago banget cuy.
You have to think it's going to be a quick reset for them and right back.
Dari tadi multinya si Zeus selalu bagus ya. Dapat melulu orang.
They've already got 3.5k off it. Mickey contributing to the Nautilus death done.
Oof.
Misses the hook as Carrier goes wide with the Zenith Blade Tooth. Mickey has to flash away. It's another engage tool lost for G2.
I mean, it was nearly another death for Mickey. Nearly going to be 0-8 in this game, but G2 now starting to push out. T1 did stick around a little bit long, so maybe G2, if Faker separated field, they have a chance to go in, but I think it's still incredibly difficult because, honestly, that's only a flank angle for Faker.
Very small window there to engage. They did have a little bit of vision. A TP coming in. Zeus will be the one on the front line. Faker will be the one on the back, but Zeus immediately locked up. You can see how much damage he can tank. Faker going in with the charm, it goes wide. Zeus almost...
Gak mati anjir.
And he still has the locket.
What?
Faker dodges away from the hook. Zeus going back in, and there's your contribution. Mickey falls, the shockwave from Caps. All it can do...
Lungkat. Udah game 2 ini.
It's all done, it's all over. But the Nexus falling, T1 are going to go 1-0 up.
Zeus can do no wrong. TP's in to what should have been his death, but instead it's T1 killing G2 and taking game number 1.
T1 may have limped through summer, but this is Worlds, and they are here.
Aduh, masa kalah coy.
Broken Blade and Yike trying to do anything, but they still have the
Pada game 1, pada game 1.
with the edge of Ishtar. The chase onto Yike, the explosive cask, and as you
R1Q1
say,
bilang baru
Zeus godly with his
sadar GW
placements
udah
today.
sol aja.
The Nexus
Zeus
towers
nge-vote
fall.
LG musim
Tapi
IJ
emang si
kayaknya.
T1 kalau udah masuk World tuh
Zeno bilang absolut
gameplaynya nggak tahu kenapa beda melulu ya.
Mickey gets a kill.
Worth. This is for the support
The
kill,
mental
but-
game. It's the mental
Yeah.
game.
Holy moly. The god of cracking the code on your screen. That was absolutely insane from Zeus, and G2 looks stunned.
That they do. We'll see if they can bounce back after this short break.
Heavy is the crown.
This is necessary.
Red Bull gives you wings.
You wish.
Gak sampai jam 10 kayaknya udah kelar.
Alfian Kalisto
BO3 cuy,
bilang
masa iya
anjir,
2-0
di
aja.
channel LOL Esport view-nya nyampe 200-an.
Yo.
Kalau 2-0 sih, aduh sedih banget anjir.
Loh, kepala kamu kenapa? Sakit kepala sebelah. Seperti ditusuk-tusuk, sensitif cahaya dan suara. Itu migrain. Cepat minum Bodrek Migra dengan triple active formula. Duniamu kembali utuh. Bodrek Migra, solusi khusus migrain.
Nih, 10-10 groceries day. Borong deh tuh semua.
Premium lakor. Ini gua nggak login YouTube coy supaya tidak terjadi hal yang tidak diinginkan, kebuka history segala macamnya. YouTube gua mah premium cuy. Iya cuy, view-nya nggak nyampe 700 jadi pengen turu.
Bilang T1 itu udah kayak Real Madrid kalau di sepak bola. Di liganya boleh ngablu, tapi di UCL udah beda mode. T1
Bukan,
juga
coy.
di liganya boleh
Ini tuh
ngablu,
kayak EVOS
tapi
RRQ.
di Worlds udah beda mode.
Ini RRQ bro. Internet so fast, you'll need seat belt for your couch. Bentar guys. Sekarang jam 2, jam 3, ya jam 2 lah ya di Eropa cuy. Berarti mereka ini di Berlin tuh game T+2 kayaknya tuh.
Esport berapa views ya?
Nggak tahu sih. Tapi kemarin yang gam lawan apa DK ya? Lawan apa gitu? 2 juta total view-nya sih.
T1 saying we're 6-2 against you all year. You think it's gonna go any differently? Not in game 1, it's not. And oh my god, can we just talk about the Gragas pick that really glued everything together, not to mention that it was executed flawlessly.
Yeah, I think the big thing with this composition, again, when I'm looking at the difference between T1 shakiness leading up to here to now is pulling out this composition, knowing exactly how you want to play it, making tweaks like adding the Gragas in. Zeus had a phenomenal
Jadi
game.
sebelum pengumuman
really
vokalis baru Linkin Park berarti Riot udah tahu sih kalau ada vokalis baru. Mungkin lagu ini mah nggak bentar sih, pasti udah berbulan-bulan yang lalu.
Really great to see from T1.
And it's really a testament to T1's preparation that they were ready for this combo, because everyone has been talking about how good Nocturne Orianna is once the Auroras and the Yones are banned away.
Linkin Park ini udah mau ngumumin atau belum pengen ngumumin, tapi biar barengan sama World jadinya antara ditunda atau dipercepat.
Seem much better, and also helps bring up some of the damage that an Ahri mid maybe won't otherwise have. Faker didn't go grass, he brought out Lich Bane as you mentioned, so it feels like T1 T1 took the meta that existed, refined it a little bit, and made a lot of picks that have not been looking great look damn good.
Really good.
Reckless ngapain aja ya?
Dracos are mad about the Jin looking good a little bit. You
Very
know,
mad about the Jin
we've
looking
been
good.
some Jin haters over
Jackie
here.
Love versus T1 made one piece of Jin propaganda that people were holding on a little bit too hard, and it just really hasn't. Other than that, hasn't been good. But today it's been different.
I mean, Guma watched it. It was against him, and he said, "I can do better."
Bake garis bawah
Don't you worry.
Kujira
And
bilang
he did.
Pur up BNR Klo jago win grip
It
pasti
wasn't just the
jago
picks.
hop
We
dan
have to say
ML.
that. I mean, the idea
Enggak lah
of kind
cuy.
of tempo, decision making, coming into the fights when they had to, asset execution. Dracos,
Kalau
there is
jago
a
game
lot to
sebelah baru
watch
jago main wild
for
tip.
T1.
Yeah, and every second counts, and thanks to the rival Cisco network, Faker was able to get there in the nick of time in his replay. And as we take a look, the thing I want to highlight on your mini-map initially right off the bat, Faker not anywhere near, but keep in mind he does have the TP, and we have a perfect TP flank ward here. Already a recipe for disaster. You've seen this so many times. So Arthur, if we can roll the clip, we can take a look at how this starts. It's actually not too bad for G2. Hansama gets clipped, but he doesn't get stunned. Mickey re-engaging here isn't bad. A front-to-back team fight when Hansama is strong is good. You pause, you
Disini
see
tadi
the
nih.
initial impact.
Masih ada flash jadi ngangong
They're
anjir
getting
abis
Oriana
itu.
disrupting on the front. You're making sure that Jin can't
Jadi
participate
juga
on the fight.
ketangkep.
But the beautiful thing here is that T1 aren't entirely reliant on Jin for damage output, so it's not going to hurt too bad. Faker, you can see at the bottom of your screen, is already on that flank. And the moment that breaks this, as we take a look at the center of your screen here, is this Gragas ultimate on clear screen. If we can pause it one
Itu
more
live
time
view
just to
party
highlight what
kelar jam
happens.
berapa ya? Mulainya jam
We
5
now have
sore.
a perfect division on two sides. But Guma is safe and Faker is
Itu
on the
nonton
flank. And all of these people for G2,
Grand
you go,
final
"Oh,
doang
three
kan ya?
people's
Apa
gonna be great."
perebutan nomor
Ori
3
has no
juga
ult.
tadi?
Nocturne has no ult.
Gak tahu gue juga yang di itu.
Kemarin gimana? Cuman grand final doang.
Kalau kemarin mah final doang.
You know what happens, and
Ya
the second
final
that
doang sih.
Hansama
Final
isn't
berapa?
free to
BO5 ya?
auto-attack, you know how much damage
Iya.
he's doing. There's no room for G2 to
Final
play this out. Mickey
BO5,
tries to
start
make a
jam
heroic
5.
effort to save
Kemarin
the fight,
itu kalau
but
nggak
in a
salah
sustained
startnya itu
damage
jam
battle,
berapa
Guma
ya?
is able to
Open
just
gate-nya jam
flash
1 kalau
away
nggak
to
salah.
regroup with his
Mulainya
team.
jam 3
Open
deh
game
kalau
jam
nggak salah.
1 ya.
And the fact that they get
Kelarnya
double
kayaknya
back,
kalau gue
Gragas
nggak
splits
salah itu
G2,
maghrib
which
jam
means
6 kayak
Guma
udah
can
kelar
flash
deh.
to River. He doesn't have to flash any further back into the rest of the G2 team. River would normally be a death sentence, but this Gragas creates so much space and disrupts these fights so effortlessly. I think we're seeing this pick a lot more.
Creating space mentioned for Hansama. It's really one of those, oh, you probably wonder how I ended up in this position. And T1 says, no, we knew you were going to end up in this position.
Mumpung
And I think,
jadwalnya itu nggak
Emily,
terlalu
something you were
aneh,
also
jadi
mentioning a lot
ikut
is that
nobar view
because
party nanti
T1
cuy di
sees
Jaksel
how the
cuy.
game is going
Nanti
to
kalau misalnya
play
jadwalnya udah dini hari udah nggak mungkin lagi tuh
out
nobar.
defensively a lot, and that puts T1 in a great position.
Yeah, it's like Draco's mentioned, they're not as reliant on the Jin as you would be in other like Jin compositions. But then also like the way that they recognized how they wanted to disrupt what
Nggak ada juara
G2
tiga. Hah,
wanted
masa
to
nggak ada
do
juara
with this
tiganya?
kind of instant burst from
Terus
the
gimana sistem
Nocturne
bracketnya?
Oriana and be able to reposition with stuff like the Gragas and then on top of that the Ahri was so crucial in a lot of these fights.
Apakah
and I can't
Reckless
understate
diturunkan?
the
Jabatannya
coordination from T1
diturunkan.
is again not something that they were as strong at in the lead up here. So to see this now from then could be a harbinger of doom for other
Could
teams.
we play them in the best of ones, man?
Wait, we just lost. It would have just been over. What are you talking about? We just lost the best of ones. This is the thing that I think is genius, is because obviously both comps have a similar identity in the terms of like Ahri wants to set up picks. You have this Nocturne Oriana combo to start a fight off favorably, but usually whoever goes first is favored. And the really big difference again is that Gragas ult, because you can reset a fight. So T1 get in, they get their cooldowns off first. G2 then go, all right guys, it's our
Kalian tahu nggak guys makanan yang bentuknya kayak jantung pisang guys? Apa nama
Sovereign
sebutannya cuy?
game from T1 in game 1. And I know
Bentuknya
there's
tuh
like
kayak jantung
2 LEC
pisang.
casters there and 1 NA. So
Ah,
Kobe, can you give
kecombrang.
them like a rallying cry? Can you give them, I don't know, some hope?
Can you give us all a rallying cry,
Yeah.
actually?
I was trying to give him some
Bisa,
hope, you know,
some
please.
more.
I've got a very large stock of hopium. I would say you don't want it to be a best of one, because to Draco's point, yeah, you'd already be going home. So that's a good place to start.
Kecombrang.
If you lose
Molen
this one,
apaan?
we'll just
Molen
increase it to a
anjing.
best of 5.
And it's a 2-2
Itu
after
mah
this, right?
pisang,
So G2
bukan
aren't
jantung
eliminated.
pisang
That's where my
anjir.
hopium's coming from. I'm kind of in this series, I just want to see good League of Legends mentality, and next series, you know, when we match up against Conquest.
Keep your camera on Zeus then. You know, you just go to the pro view of Zeus, because he truly was
Reckless
magnificent in
itu
game
cuman
number 1.
gimmick,
You know, got to start
cuman
off all
ngebawa
flashy
itu
with
biar
killing
lengkap
Hansama
aja
with
6 player cuy, nggak bakal
just
dimainin.
spot.
Tolong realistis
Akbar
cuy.
baru saja mengirimkan
Reckless aja tuh udah nggak main
dukungan
bertahun-tahun
Force
anjir.
Bracketnya single
tower,
elite
but then
knockout
also
tanpanya
the
di
team play
posisi
that came
ketiga.
in.
Reckless sudah nggak ada lagi ikut turni pros bertahun-tahun, jir.
Main mah masih, cuman di Korea yang challenger, yang tier 2.
Bukannya dia coach doang?
Enggak, jadi support.
Ah, bener,
Player
jadi
support.
Tuh, masa ngajak player support yang tier 2, cuy? Nggak mungkin, cuy.
I would say number one adjustment, because they're still banning the Kalista and Renata, but yeah, they add the Skarner here. I think a bigger thing was blind picking their Jax. Like versus T1, this team is so good at
tadi lagi
counter picking, because
kan?
both Keria and Zeus.
Kita belum ngelihat meta baru lagi nih. Bener masih itu aja, anjing. Kayak sekarang mau pakai Galio dah. Udah kita pakai Galio yuk sekarang kan ya.
Sebenarnya kalau di pick Galio sama itu barengan so jelek. Kalau Oriana Galio-nya di pick barengan jelek banget. Nanti bakal di counter lane-nya kagak kuat. Nggak mungkin di pick dulu Galio ya.
Bener sih, mainnya meta baru lah. Langsung pick gitu. Coba tuh benar ya.
Benar.
I do think Gnar is a better blind. Like Gnar has been so versatile, and we've seen so many, very strong Gnar so far at the tournament.
Tuh, T1 sponsornya Hanabeng cuy, yang suka T1 pakai Hanabeng cuy. Apa contoh Hanabeng? Lain Bank.
Jax as well.
Indonesia.
It's more of a skill matchup, but Jax will start to take it over as the game goes on.
Personally, I do like the Rumble with the Vi, just because you do get that equalizer Vi ult combo, but they're going to go back towards the Jax and try and have more of a threat on towards the side lane, which can always work out incredibly well, especially when you see
Perigone bilang, Ahri laki bet dari kemarin.
Is that Rumble does sometimes struggle against Nocturne, because your ultimate, you can't get full value. Sometimes it's really hard to see the perfect placement, so maybe that's what he was thinking, not wanting to play team fights and having to work around that. Whereas Jax is definitely a bit easier, but again,
yeah, something we saw a lot at MSI from Mickey. That Halo Blade's Poppy was causing problems. We also saw it from Broken Blade in the top lane in matchups into the Cassante. Braum once again banned away by G2. They really don't want that unbreakable shield to have so much presence in the bot lane.
I am surprised to see the Poppy though, because traditionally it's like, hey, a counter to the Jax, right? But you've already got the Gnar. And you're more than likely again going to see this counter pick for Keria. So I think Poppy only really works in that counter pick role. So I think if you end up taking Poppy, you could have gone back towards Nico or something and had this really devastating bot lane.
I agree with you, but I think with the prevalence of lane swaps, there's always the possibility the Poppy just gets to be out on the map. And
mau ikut nobar nggak, Rep?
I do get you. I think Poppy is true. I think Poppy
kenapa pakai morde? Apa? Kenapa nggak pakai morde? Ngapain pakai morde aja?
Nggak terlalu kepake morde soalnya.
Exactly. They're very clear about this. They're trying to ban out anything defensive for the bottom lane. G2 really want to go very aggressive down there and kind of fight.
Faker dia pengen meninggalkan legacy kalau dia itu nggak pernah pakai skin, cuy. Itu ciri khas dia.
I wonder if it is then just going to be the Draven Leona take. I know we went
Terus si Caps dia mau niru-niru Faker, cuy.
Leona was kind of a little bit more helpful in being able to set up for this
apalagi ya,
middle engage and some of the follow-up that could work.
Dan dia tetap konsisten nggak pakai skin. Kalau gua apa bagusnya gimmicknya ya?
Counterpoint, Mickey really did fund the Nautilus death toll. That was like 8 or 9.
I have Nautilus as my pick as well, so I don't mind the Nautilus again.
Mickey juiced the Nautilus death
toll. Ambil Leona nggak sih? Gitu.
It is Kai'Sa over that Draven. Hansama on Draven
masih mobil.
Internationally, even though he has about 62% history on it.
Dia udah nge-pick nanti.
Going for something
udah.
That can be okay in the lane as well, can get the push without a Cathy and Rain, and now we get Nautilus. It gives you a great knock, but the ultimate is very powerful, and it's non-committal. The problem is it's not just committal, and that's what Mickey was using all of the time.
And this is just so all-in dive. It is so threatening. Again, even in champs like previously, we're like, wow, it's probably going to be very hard for Guman to play the game. And would have been if it weren't for a really good teammate peel and set up on those team fights. This time around, T1 do not have the Gragas cast to disrupt G2, and they are still going to be vulnerable to these Oriana Nocturne combinations that now even have a bit better of follow-up with Kai'Sa.
I think as well, you've just got so much pressure on towards Caps in the mid lane with T1 now.
Yula Effendi bilang ayo guys 500 view Kuro cosplay Nautilus.
So I think there's going to need to be a lot more vision around this mid lane to support Caps, and it is going to be a little bit difficult to try and get that with Mickey having roam timers to try and facilitate any sort of player in the mid. So I think T1 have a easy to execute early game into what was traditionally just their side lane split push from the last game.
And here we see compositions once again.
Ini mah kalau misalnya ngadu lane swap menangan G2 aturan, cuman Zeusnya pakai.
It was G2 that denied them that opportunity. It was for finals. G2 obviously going on and losing 0-3 to FPX, but for T1 and for Faker, it's been a long road home. Managing to win last year, managing to overcome Weibo after falling just short against DRX, and now looking for Faker's fifth. The T1 spin, what an accomplishment that would be. Faker, actually, if he wins this game, has 100 wins at Worlds, which is 40 more than any other player, which is just an astronomical.
Ini dia World 2024. Jangan lupa top up di Kurohiko topup.com. Termurah, terpercaya, teraman dari Vtuber indie.
I saw you giving me the side eye there.
You don't want to be in that spot.
Sorry.
Hehehe bilang, ayo 500 view Kuro dukung G2.
Enggak cuy, gue sekarang udah dukung G2 cuy. 500 view baru dukung T1. Kalau dari likes-nya sih sekarang likes-nya 264. Kalau 300 likes gue dukung T1 beneran. Gak bohong, janji. Janji seorang pelaut.
To really start peaking again here at Worlds again would just be such a cool story for them.
Anjir.
See about the level 1 though. That was not a cool
Ini
story.
nih.
Mickey last time. He's getting the heck out of there.
Mickey adalah Mickey.
On everyone's bingo card as the team that was probably most favored coming into Worlds with the big meta shift.
Oh, kenapa nih?
Iya, kenapa tuh?
Woi.
Kenapa tuh, Cok?
Pakai haki cuy.
Manggil Kyosaringan kan?
Masih error lagi. Oh, anjir, itu bijinya 3.
Wah, ini pakai haki cuy. Pakai haki cuy.
Flash over the ash arrows into that big crash
bener.
Itu pakai shadow step semua cuy.
This feels like
Lo tau gak ada yang komen apa Bang Gon?
Apa?
EU production anjir.
L production. Iya cuy.
I know you're quite happy about that fact.
LEO.
With broken play, both of them gone grasp in this top lane, so expect a lot of that, hitting each other with your handbags, just trying to get that extra health.
Yeah, and of course my favorite part of standard lanes, non-lane swaps, is that junglers actually get more choices. And you have a lot of options. When the bottom lane's like this, from Champ Select, you're just like, willing to make it spicy. And then you also have a top lane matchup like Jax Gnar, where Zeus is trying to harass early on, push the wave, chunk the mini Gnar while he's very vulnerable there. I just feel like there's so much more skill expression for junglers in particular during non-lane swaps. That is just, it's just more exciting skill expression.
There's a lot of skill expression in PvE. All right.
Q flash.
There is skill expression in lane swaps as well. It's just very different.
Kurokuma bilang bismillah doa bapak Caps manjur sekali lagi.
Iya cuy.
Does have the TP to get back that wave. Not in a good state for him.
And this is what I was talking about from draft. It's significantly easier for Owner to again just go for this transitional gang.
Ayo cuy, sekarang like-nya baru 278 cuy. 300 like dukung Faker nih. Masa kalian nggak pengen dukung Kurohiko Faker cuy, auto win dijamin.
Once just free farm until 6. If you end up putting pressure on towards mid lane as this Nocturne and Owner shows up, that could be an absolute disaster.
Didukung sama pemenang wild run cuy.
Does bring it out from Yike for a little bit of extra movement speed on the chase. Faker here might have to flash because Yike is
Ownernya jauh.
Gets the red buff slow, but he doesn't know where Owner is, so has to back away.
Tidak ada info jungle yang jadi balik nih.
Running past those mid lane brush, and so it is in the end gonna be the advantage there with the flash. So we'll see about repeat ganks because the #1 most obvious thing in the entire game is Vi plus Ahri. Level 6, guess what? You're dead. And now Caps does not have his flash. We'll see about the timer for it to come back up, but that is a huge.
Itu Bibi pakai skin yang mana yang astronaut ya?
Iya, astronaut benar.
Pasifnya lucu ya.
Even look at this path from Owner who sweeps around through the tri-brush to come steal away your second Raptor spawn. Whenever mid lane is a big point, the mid lane steal away of Raptors for junglers is always a very, very high objective because that allows you to continue to camp around mid lane without dropping.
No flash Caps. Alah.
Dissonance himself and has enough movement speed to get back to the safety.
Cancel nggak sih? Cancel nggak sih? Cancel nggak sih? Bagus, bagus,
I was a
bagus.
little nervous when I saw Owner taking those Raptors because immediately you can just go in towards that mid lane, and if Caps is trying to play aggressive to deny Faker's reset, that could be where he punished, but didn't end up going that too far forward, and now it's Owner moving back up towards his top side for his own Camps respawning to make sure that he's going to
hampir, Cok.
Yeah, and of course,
Sidik Wadil Amin bilang kok GK tuker map ya Kur.
They got the ward onto the
Maksud?
T1 Raptors. So
Owner versi Wolves.
Oh, kenapa nggak pindah posisinya gitu? Mungkin tadi G2 pas kalah dia milihnya tetap di kiri cuy dulu.
Yang kalah milih itu, milih side. Wah, gak kena.
Yang kalah milih side.
Itu kalau kena mati nggak sih Mickey bro?
Cuman kalau kena ke Jin, Jinnya cuma mati.
Oh iya ya.
Hans, I think, right call to stop the reset and actually pick up this wave because Owner is going to be on that top.
Anjir itu.
I think this is still a nice little win for the T1 bot lane in the 2v2.
Christian Andika bilang let's go G2. Let's go G2. Let's go G2.
Coming into this series, Owner would have been a standout player for T1. Zeus, after game 1, kind of puts his name in the
stand for GG, bro.
Owner, I think, has just been so consistent for T1 here at Worlds.
Especially on the vibe pick. Like you
harusnya land swap nggak sih biar menang sedikit.
BLG were consistently trying to make plays on sides, but as Owner showing up, now you get Yike who's trying to hover around mid with Mickey, and it's Owner in position alongside Carrier. It was kind of this duo that was such a threat in the early stages to deny.
T1 itu masih SKT nggak sih? Apa enggak?
Accelerating some of the early goals the teams have picked up against them. So it's great to see Owner firing on all cylinders, but it's terrifying if you're a G2 fan.
Bukan. Apa gitu, Telekom apa gitu, lupa.
Khodam bilang yo bisa yok G2 ke airport terdekat.
Perusahaan itu anjir. SK Telekom
kayak apa? Kayak Telkom University gitu.
Bukan ya.
Oh maksudnya sekolah komunikasi kali ya?
Woi.
Oh kena jam siapa tuh? Ya. Oke.
Orb of Deception won't find too much more. G2 start up the grubs. They're quite hurt though. Half HP on Yike. Broken building up towards that mega.
Di bagian bawah ada Zeus melawan Caps. Masih menyimpan ultinya, kita lihat.
Musik bilang T1
no mana dari Caps.
Dapat 3 grab.
Apakah Zeus akan ke-trigger?
To be able to get yourselves the objective
SK
first.
itu grup konglomerat Korea kok.
Damage allow them the opening. Again, a 3 grub start here for G2.
We'll have to see if they can try and keep that pressure up because you can see how hard T1.
Gua kira lo mau ngejokes ini, Cok. Surat keterangan aja.
From Caps as well on that bottom side because one of the big things that as Medic was alluding to, the potential TP, but Caps puts pressure on towards Ace to deny that opportunity to try and come in. And T1 were trying to be sneaky against Broken Blade there, but the ward just spots them out.
Okay, start for G2. T1, though, will still be relatively happy with the position they're in. They have a slight gold lead for Zeus. They have a slightly larger gold lead for Gumayushi on this Jhin, and they really start to come online when they get that first item, second item. Now, both level 6 on Ono and 7 on Faker means they have that cease and desist Spirit Rush combination. Caps' flash back up. For G2 makes him a little safer in a side lane. Doesn't have the TP yet though, and it looks like he's going to shove out one more lane on the bottom side.
I mean, I'm not even trying to give you guys cope.
Don't do it, man.
Yeah, I mean,
we want good League of Legends.
No, you're off. No more talking.
Map movementnya sih sekarang bagusan gitu.
The G2 comp side with the small adjustments that they made in this game. So because they have the actual versatility for later, and because this time the top lane matchup is Gnar versus the Jax instead, doesn't have to worry about the disruption from the Gragas. I actually
really bisa sembarangan masuk juga BB lawan Jax ya.
Sake of the fans as well who want more excitement.
I mean, it would be much more exciting if G2 are able to take this game, and obviously, as LEC casters, we are slightly biased in that regard, but continue to watch the game and just want the best League of Legends we can see. G2
really
shouldn't fight this, because Broken Blade TP'd up to the top lane only a few moments ago. If they try to invest, obviously Zeus can join the
kalah berapa kali? Baru sekali ya?
Baru sekali.
They won't battle against it. See Yike just hovering Hansama and Mickey in case anything does happen. But
ini sama-sama poin 21 berarti.
Just going to be this wave getting shoved out.
Big question will be, can T1 with the Ari plus the Vi here find themselves a pick? Already, you
Hajima
see the
bilang
bottom
Yumi
lane
number
moving up.
1.
One of the biggest objectives when you do have Vi Ari is to try and control the vision between the river.
Yumi yang di PC udah sampah anjir.
These alleyways where you go for those picks and then you get to turn them into
Bukan, tadi nerf udah di reward.
Carrier and Guma also
Kill lu jadi cuman bisa ke satu orang doang yang bagusnya.
you see the control wards all the way up through the river.
Ultinya juga nggak ngerut lagi ya, kalau nggak salah ya?
Iya, ultinya udah nggak ngerut.
He has had confidence this game in his movement.
Cuman nge-slow sama damage doang.
Cuman dikasih kebebasan kemana arahnya gitu ya?
Iya, nggak guna anjir.
Nggak guna itu lah.
I'm curious to see how T1 are going to open up on the map now, because there is a way that they can immediately shift Gumayushi in towards mid and try and make some sort of play on towards caps
lah,
with the curtain call.
itu mah Abigail.
Seconds until those void grubs are up, but it looks like they're just going to shift Faker up towards that top side. I wasn't sure if they just went to all.
Soalnya ada ini juga mah, ada viewer juga namanya Abigail juga.
LGA gitu.
Tapi bukan Abigail.
Muhammad Haidar Nabil bilang Mak Bijal mah buzzer unicorn.
Ari,
Iya coy.
pretty good at getting picks because they can jump over walls there, but also, you know, props to Mickey keeping up with the Nautilus Death Fund. That's one more for us. I do as well have that.
Double ults burnt. Like, you've now burnt both Faker's ult and Owner's ult right before the Void Grub spawn. So, I'm not going to say it was a planned good death, but could actually work out as a decent death here for G2 when they do actually go to try and contest on towards those.
Mickey X, good death, hey.
Broken Blade doesn't have teleport, but Owner's actually heading towards
Broken
Blade rather than the...
Mati itu kayaknya.
Oh, nice! Mati nggak sih?
Wah, dia kaget.
Wah, terlalu cepat, brother.
Oh, enggak.
Masih ada flash.
Ntar lagi bisa loncat.
Ya, jap. Ya, ada kena anjir. Set-setnya tuh terlalu dekat.
Iya, padahal jalan aja.
Over the wall, Broken Blade tried to sidestep the foot. Good call from Owner, just hold on, but still on the opposite side, Void Grubs galore, and it will be, I imagine Zaya is starting to put a bit of pressure here to answer for some of the third places. Faker, no way he catches Mickey again.
Ya bentar guys, sambil minum dulu guys, ini nggak ada bakal fight sampai 30 menit.
Everyone's like,
oh, Mickey looking for the hook here.
Apa iya?
Oh, nice dodge, anjay. Miss pula itunya ya.
Apa iya?
Ya.
Oh, waduh.
Ya.
Wah, gila, hidup.
Oh, nice, Faker.
Ada tambahan movement speed dari skill 2 tuh, jadi nggak bisa dikejar. Wah, di turn. Oh, oke.
Owner has cease and desist here, but I don't think she might just be coming off cooldown. Decides against going for it. TP to the top lane by Faker as well.
Annoying banget ya skill satunya Nautilus kalau ada yang dekat gitu ya.
oh man, Faker with one of his getaways. Regardless, Mickey should be able to get out here with just the Gromp steal for Owner, but man,
disayang tuh kan Faker.
This is a big investment too, as we'll take a look. You mentioned the ultimates used to kill Mickey. Now it's kind of the reverse.
Ini teringat apa yang Faker kabur lawan Rox Tiger, tahu nggak sih bro?
Vision toggle by the observers.
And then engage comes through from Mickey, and it's a nice setup
bahasa
here
Cina
to try and help, but bot side.
Oh.
Flashes away. He's hit with a house.
Oke.
Lah kok balik lagi
Bawahnya dapet. Jadi
ulti nggak sih? Ulti nggak sih, Ker?
Itu gua ngomongnya kalau Mandarin ngerti nggak obotnya? Enggak sih, pasti dia baca cuma pakai logat bahasa Indonesia. Tapi kayaknya dia bacanya bisa deh.
Faker even dropped off that top tower, trying to move down to see if he can cover the mid lane, so then G2 kind of was just pushing towards mid as well. But so much of this early game has been about these cross maps, the Void Grubs for the bot player towards Broken Blade and getting a ton of plates on towards Zeus, and then you see Faker in the top half of the map, so G2 make the bot half play, but now G2 are on the bot side, Zeus TP's top to get the top turret as well. A huge amount of this go back and forth thanks to these plays.
Still, I think it's a hugely beneficial kind of response from G2, because they get their bonus first turret gold as well, and those are the types of plays where you really want to see the reset and kind of set up for it on the other side, but they jump on it and they get the small benefit even though they have had a couple of speed bumps here
Zeno
are able to
bilang
get a little bit more
Imai
gold.
masih.
And now you've got first items almost complete across the board. It's only BB who has that
Bisa
reset
kan
that he
dia
can go
baca
for
aja.
and the teleport back in. But I'm curious now what you want to do. Both Dragon and Rift Herald up and available. I think T1 going to focus up towards Rift Herald, which is probably right against the Chemdrake. And G2 going to see maybe if they can make some sort of play. But there's no tower for BB and he's so far extended.
See the lane economy snapshot brought to you by MasterCard.
Itu atas semua dikentu.
No big surprises there. Broken play trying to hide in the top.
Ya,
Wah, tele. Wah.
ya gak
cancel.
sempet. Waduh.
Bye BB.
Aduh sayang banget sih.
It's interesting that they have such a bounty on Broken Blade's head, it feels like. Not in a literal sense, but they've got a target on his back. T1 keep on going for these assassination attempts onto Broken Blade. It's almost like when they gave up the 6 grubs, they were saying, you are not going to have a split pusher that can use
300 bang, seriusan like-nya udah 300 akhirnya coy. 50 lagi kita dukung Packer cuy, sesuai perjanjian dari awal kita live. 350 like kita dukung T1. View kalau 600 kita dukung T1.
Oh, mati dong Miki.
Aduh. Ini kenapa blender gini coy?
Mickey brother.
You can see already 2,500 gold ahead. With the Rift Herald charging through mid, they're going to open up the map and make it so much more tricky for G2. But he's just creating space. The solar flame.
Zeno bilang Sabiko namaskara. Aisyah Kiom hai.
Apa tuh India aja?
Wah,
mati. Miki,
balas lah Jitu coy. Masa 26 gini coy.
TB bawa dapat ya betul. Turret tier 2 lagi. Gila. Oh, di tele nggak jadi.
Agak blunder tadi.
Hampir rugi parah tuh T1.
Iya lah, bangsat. Si ownernya pula masuk ke dalam kali bawa itunya.
Iya anjir tuh. Astagfirullah katanya.
Koldan bilang tuh kurte 1.
Terus pas banget lagi ada itu di situ anjing banget ya.
9 kur.
Ada si Hans anjir.
Then you have the desync from T1 as Keria goes back in, while the rest of them are kiting away. It still actually cost them the life of Hansama though. So in the
sulit juga ya bahasa Mandarin. Bukan sulit juga aja bahasa tersulit di dunia coy. Mereka kalau kita alfabetnya ada 24, mereka ada ribuan. Bahkan ahli sastra bahasa Cina aja belum tentu bisa hafal semuanya. Bukan alfabet siapa ya? Vocab.
It is into the hands of Caps, and that's where exactly where you want it. The big shockwave plays are going to be the ones
aksara Cinanya lah.
Try and leverage yourself back into this game. You have the Nocturne delivery. We'll see if they're able.
Dan kita cuma ada, kita cuma punya 24 atau 26 gitu ya.
I think it still will be
26
Cuma segitu itu pun buat anak SMP masih belum pada bisa baca aja. Gue kalau guru SMP murid gue nggak bisa baca sih stres gue. Mengundurkan diri gue jadi YouTuber aja lah.
Oh, solo bolo kah? Oh, nggak mau. Oh, tele! Let's go! Atas itu.
Kalau Korea itu termasuk yang gampang buat dipelajari.
Oh, nice flash, Zeus.
And once again, Zeus in this series puts G2 in their place.
T1 have been doing such a good job of collecting G2 members on these side lanes. Every time they step up, there's a TP behind. They're punishing the overextension. And that's twice now on that top lane that the solo laners of G2 have been close.
Nggak ngerti cuy. Nggak ngerti buat dia.
I know that they also have Gnar pushing on bottom side, but after Caps took the first tower on top side and then pushed the next wave, we kind of thought that was going to be the moment for him to actually back off, but the
TTS
deep ward allows Zeus the ability to pincer, and
the only thing I can think of is a potential Zhonya's completion. He wanted just one more wave to finish that because he's fairly close, it would seem, but still I think very greedy for him.
There's always that mental edge of T1 just took our tier 2 in the bot lane. Let's at least get a chunk on their tier 2 in the top lane as well. As you say, Zonya's almost there for Caps. One item as well on Sama. 2 though on Gumayushi on that Jin is the Mosquito build, but Jins have been doing quite a lot of work with it at this Worlds anyway. T1 trying to get control of this bot side jungle. Their vision control has been pretty solid so far. Mickey almost caught out, has to blast cone away, no safety in towers in that bot lane. Only the inhibitor tower still remains
jungle beda
there for him.
1600,
30
top lane
seconds on the mountain.
1200
Drake
sih.
and T1 have control of the rift.
Okay, Hansama, if they could wait a little bit and buy some time for his flash to get up, it's not a lot of time that they need, but it would be very impactful for the next team fight.
It's only 20 seconds.
He did just complete his Rage Blade, so they definitely have some really good looks here.
What? Bibi?
Pas kecil lagi ketangkap cowok. Wah. Kombonya tapi itu gak kena anjir.
Nice banget. Iya gak kena ulti ya.
Wah, lindungin gak sih?
Ya.
Combo Nocturne Oriananya gak kena ke flash.
Faker mekanik tua betul nggak bang? Susah sih sekarang mau dibilang mekanik tua cuy, soalnya nggak ada hero yang bisa dibilang kayak mekanik banget lagi cuy, yang bisa dipakai aja. Dulu dia dibilang mekanik jago karena mainnya tuh kayak Z, apalagi tuh yang lompat-lompat itu tadi. Leblanc gitu. Azir kayak biasa aja deh. Rice juga apa sulitnya anjing, spam skill doang.
Dulu tinggal tekan-tekan ya anjing ya.
Princess zaman dulu lu pencet semua juga menang anjing.
Kalau sekarang orang udah pikannya tuh save aja cuy. Oriana, Ahri, itu pun kagak montek-montek aja kerjaannya tuh, bawa teleport abis itu split push anjir. Lu lihat aja Faker dari World tahun berapa kayak gitu mainnya coy.
3 tahun yang lalu.
Are a bit more locked in and they are not going to leave any openings for you. And this is the team.
Tapi nanti mungkin kalau udah balik meta-meta yang kayak Azir udah balik lagi ke meta misalnya tuh yang Leblanc masih gak pakai lah ya sekarang kayaknya ya. Apa enggak juga nanti?
Masih. Leblanc masih dipakai.
And it's everything else now that is starting to level up against G2 here as well.
You're also mentioning the Vi for owner.
Jungle juga jungle tank doang. Ini jungle yang nggak tank nih yang kepake di Nocturne nih, yang assassin nih. Satu-satunya ya.
Iya.
That's the exact execution that you want. Faker now as well finishes Storm Surge, 6 stacks on his Dark Seal, so there's plenty.
Gara-gara Canyon kemarin ya enggak bro ya?
These quick reactions from T1.
Canyon
now they're
ngapain
going
nih?
to split into their 4-1
Pakai
split
Nocturne.
first. Zeus down there on the bottom side. G2 have the possibilities of trying to put, pressure on the split push, but
Ya assassin mid paling Yoni yang kepake.
have the extra leverage now, it's just hard for them to even gain
Akali juga
control
belum ada yang
of the
pakai.
mid-wave first, and so then you can't really
Kali kemarin udah sempet dipakai.
Oh, udah.
because they will jump on that Baron. This is T1, you know they will go.
Zeka mana tuh? NA ya?
HLE. Korea.
Oh Korea.
Iya.
Oh,
Itu kan
iya.
emang pas dia juara dunia dia mainnya Akali ya.
Sama siapa dia dulu menang?
DRX.
Oh yang pas ya.
Yang sama Dev.
Iya. Yang jungle-nya gap smite. Guma.
Gumanya dihentus sendiri.
Wah, iya. Oh, capsnya mati.
Wah. Masih oke.
Faker,
Ini mah menang ini T1 cok.
Menang ya itu enggak menang itu.
Ya.
Wah, Fakernya hidup
Let's go. Yeay, ayo coy. Jitu menang ini coy.
itu katanya Cap sudah agree, udahlah nggak usah combo-combo, lu ke Gumayushi sendiri aja katanya.
Yaiknya pintar cok, nunggu ulti Guma udah anjing ulti cok.
T1 thought that they were going to be able to collapse, but
Tengok nih, Guma ulti, Yaiknya masuk anjing. Nah itu dia, malah Guma.
Nah terus sama dia
Oh itu
langsung diultiin.
pas di ward
Wow, charmnya bagus banget itu.
Oh dia ulti harus lock target ya?
ulti siapa? Oh Nocturne ya.
Iya.
Point and click. Jadi kalau nggak ada vision ya nggak bisa.
Nggak bisa ya.
Cuman sayang tuh Fakernya hidup.
Tapi kalau dipakai ini bisa berarti ya, apa sih namanya? War biru.
Bisa.
Anjir,
Kalau
dikit doang tuh
combo zaman
ekspresinya.
dulu udah perang lagi.
bagus banget
hilang
itu.
Faker.
Tapi
Christian
mati
Andika
juga
bilang
kan
let's
sama.
go G2. Let's go G2. Let's go
Lagi nggak sih?
G2.
Mau
Ayo tuh masih ada
diremit
Nautilus tuh, Nautilus tuh.
Nautilus pencet ulti nih. Oh,
Aduh.
nggak bisa nggak kepencet.
Nggak
Gak
nyampe.
apa-apa, itu mati carry aja lumayan deh.
Carry ya.
Wis, ayahnya bokap si Caps bahagia banget dari snowbird.
Firing off play after play after play. You saw it earlier where even on a failed play they were immediately able.
Kalau dulu tuh zamannya meta TF, ada tuh combo TF Nocturne. TF-nya bukain map, Nocturne-nya loncat ya.
Anjir,
Terus duaan kentu belakang ya.
Betul.
ya gue pengen lihat TF aja nggak kepake gak TF.
Enggak, di sini mah nggak terlalu kepake. TF soalnya kan semenjak yang ada TF top TA itu jadi di nerf terus-terusan.
Terakhir kali kalau di Worlds kapan ya yang waktu ini kan yang DK yang DK menang kan? Showmaker kan?
Enggak, TF top kan tahun kemarin banyak banget ya.
Oh TF top, gua kira TF mid aja.
Enggak ya, cuman kan gara-gara di flex, TF 3 flex bisa dipakai di AJC top mid-nya, jadinya di nerf terus. Sampai nggak bisa dipakai ya.
When it jumped back to us, I was under the impression that G2 were the ones starting out, but it was actually Faker who went forward and Yike just tried to punish him. So
Kalau tahun kemarin 3 flex, makanya kuat.
G2 are forced to make a decision here. Is it going to be a dangerous?
Cuma harus hati-hati, harus bisa ketangkep capsnya, atau nunggu bibinya. Bagus banget.
Anjir.
Bantulah Zeusnya.
Tapi nggak ada tuh.
Nggak bisa, nggak ada vision itu.
Dapat bisa tuh. Dapat dua. Faker. No.
Itu broken blade, oke, nice. Broken blade. Sama udah nggak bisa mukul. Bibi carry the game gitu.
Masih bisa.
Menang ini. Fight-nya menang udah gitu.
Let's go, kasih movement speed. Nice. Gak bisa sih itu kayak.
Ada Sterak, pantesan masih berani ya.
Iya.
Let's go,
Sengaja banget tuh anjir.
Bibinya cok. Tebel banget.
Tunggu keluar nggak nih berdua nih? Enggak deh.
Enggak bisa.
Enggak lah, nggak kuat itu mati tuh.
Anjir, masa pro player nggak bisa ngitung, Jing?
Enggak, itu tuh cap style baru di itu lagi.
Nggak dibantu, cok, kasihan banget Zeus ya, no vision.
Detektif bilang let's go gitu.
Itu Bibi mau bikin apa anjir?
Udah bagus tadi pakai rumble anjing.
Tuh, Jax masuk langsung di ulti Nocturne, bingung semua nih.
Si owner pun nggak bisa ulti ya kan?
Nggak kelihatan targetnya, itu benar-benar nggak ada vision ya. Itu sampai semua naruh vision di situ tuh, lihat merah aja. Bikin pagar ya. Panik itu soalnya.
To block spells, block abilities until Broken Blade is just able to take over in the backline.
Jax bikin magic di PC sekarang.
Hybrid. Dia cuman gara-gara butuh zone-nya. Makanya ada AP-nya.
Pushing forward on the transformation of the Gnar as well. Now with the Baron buff, they can get so many rewards.
Cok, yang betul, cok. Kan aduh.
That's another 800 gold.
Oke. Let's go.
Udah
mulai biru cuy.
Ansama please.
Satu-satu dong udah ini.
Prasetya bilang let's go gitu.
Makanya cuy, udah gue suruh tadi 600 view biar gue dukung T1. Kalian nggak mau sih cuy. Kalah kan T1 cuy.
Drake still 4 minutes away. G2 have a minute and a half of this Red Bull Baron power.
Ini resek nggak ada counternya cuy. Nggak bisa di cancel. Harusnya.
Nggak bisa. Cuman kalau lu KSS tuh kayak, gue lupa setengah detik gitu ya. Setengah detik kelihatan bentar. Condenya hilang lagi ya.
Near side, grounded, itu nggak bisa.
Itu grounded juga sama sistemnya. Kalau lu KSS hilang bentar, tapi udahnya tetap kena lagi. Jadi kalau lu buffer KSS udahnya flash itu bisa.
Aduh, Oriana udah makin sakit aja. Sekali ulti mati.
But will T1 be able
to belum jadi itu, Bang.
Oke, let's go. Udah ini T1 udah rungkat di sini, cuy. Yang bisa bikin kalah di sini cuman kalau blunder doang nih, ya.
So T1 maybe looking for the TP war that's right in behind them at the moment. You can just see it on the back of your screens, but G2 they end up rolling away. Don't want to overextend.
Ya sudah bikin GA.
Kan sama udah ada itu tuh pretelan sasis.
Anjir, support item segitu doang ya. Berapa nih 29 menit anjir.
Support kalau punya 2 item tuh udah bersyukur ya.
Ya udah bersyukur, Cok.
Full build-nya emang pasti di 2 item aja support tuh.
Sisanya beli ward doang duitnya itu, Makur.
Nah, emang nggak punya duit ya.
I will say though, this G2 comp with the small changes that they made, they're so much more durable. And you see not only the Sterix gauge that was on Yike here on this Nocturne.
Aduh, masa gak kena?
Untung aja.
Masa gak kena, Cok?
Udah keburu gitu soalnya tadi. Kayaknya damage masih nggak tahu sih, cuman nggak kelihatan.
Untung.
Yike is going to be able to go deep, and Caps has been able to stay so safe.
Harus main culik ini mah, nggak bisa tuh.
So much threat. So we'll see here.
Mau dipaksa 5 lawan 5.
Ayo Oriana, kasih lihat skill lu Oriana. Aduh,
awas,
jangan kena lagi sama.
Udah nggak ada ulti tuh, bisa ya offline. Wah, nice banget.
Wah, duan sama mati mulu, coy.
Hansama.
Oh, masih hidup.
Ya, tolol banget. Bisa, ayo lagi. Nice.
Wah, matian sama coy. Wah. Objektif nggak ada sih, nggak apa-apa. Chill.
Charm. Tahan Mickey.
Sengaja di delay itu.
Nggak dibolehin balik aja.
Jangan kasih balik, guys.
Supaya hidupnya lama anjir.
But T1 again, these great teleport flanks for Zeus.
And even though that looks
aman sih. Objektif tidak ada.
And Mickey knows he's a dead man. It actually is strategically sound.
Kan sama udah full stasis.
Longer death timer there. So they actually even hurt them further knowing that he is a dead man walking, chasing him around, but it's all about the teleport. And look at this
dari tadi tapi emang Zeus si MVP anjir.
Broken Blade goes on towards owner, but it's Faker.
Kaisang juga maju banget.
Enggak, itu tuh gara-gara flank si Zeus nge-flank dari belakang. Kali combo tinggal setitik ya, mau ngapain itu main Kaisang.
Telat juga dia tadi pakai stasis juga kan dia tadi ya?
Iya, stasisnya telat ya. Kaget itu.
Awas. Gak ada ulti.
Nice. Wow, my god, hilang berapa tuh darahnya?
Ya. Zeus, udahlah Zeus.
Enggak sih, itu dikasih udah.
Ya dikasih, Cok.
Down. Chill bro.
Dapat juga lagi mid-nya.
Oke. Inhib. Ini batas, ini bawah.
Bawah aja dapat harusnya. Iya.
Dapat sol itu loh.
Nggak mungkin di defend aja kalau kayak gini.
Nice, ini batas. Chill.
Kalau mereka defend inhib, mati udah ke end game-nya anjir.
T1 able to hold on, not have those double supers pushing in every lane.
That could be the death knell for T1.
Ini nih fight terakhir nih harusnya ini ya.
Ya ini fight terakhir nih.
Nunggu Zeus. Oh enggak.
Wah, itu kemelt harus ini baru.
pensiun.
Kuma, can you steal it?
Dia buka vision, nggak dia buka
TB-in,
vision.
TB-in.
Wajib.
Tolol aja. Oh bodoh, yike, cacat.
Dapat lagi.
Nice banget anjing.
Yike, cacat, yike tolol. Yike-nya tolol, cok. Kok owner ini jago banget cuy ya dibanding owner yang satu lagi yang lagi kena hujat coy.
Owner can be steal it.
But T1 with that Baron buff should be able to defend.
The tankiness the minions get from the Baron buff, they'll be spawning in a few seconds time for T1. There they are.
Mau maksain kah anjir, ada gila sih kalau.
Aduh, maksa banget gila.
Wah, bilang gamer toxic.
Mati itu Caps. Nice dude. MVP Zeus.
Gak apa-apa, objektif gak ada, kalah di sini gak apa-apa cuy. Belum bisa end juga kayaknya. Skill 2. Tas. Ya nggak ada ya.
Belum ada kayaknya.
Flash. Oh enggak. Gak ada yang bisa di-push kan?
Gak ada yang bisa di-push, cuman gue sih tadi ngerti kenapa mereka maju biar gak bisa baronnya gak ada efek, cuman gak ada yang mau di end gitu anjir.
Mungkin membuat ngabisin waktu doang ya.
Bisa jadi sih. Jadi mereka gak ada waktu buat nge-push juga.
And also having that abyssal mask means that this primarily AP damage Kaisa cannot get through.
Ada yang bilang jungle kayak Kuro anjir.
Jagoan gua nge-smite anjir.
Wah,
anjir itu 50-50 anjir.
Iya.
Nge-smite-nya pada barengan ya.
Gak ada vision tuh kan harusnya.
Nah itu mereka taruhan siapa yang nge-smite duluan ya.
Smite berapa damage-nya?
900 atau 1200 gue lupa.
Mau nggak mau ya Zeus dulu nggak sih harus di pick off orang nih.
Yeah, the layering of the Leona ultimate into Zeus Jax jumping onto the backline there was so big, got them so much space, and then the chase down there as well, getting the extra couple ones you can see how close they are in this series. But you're
ayolah cuy.
actually can blow up the Nexus.
Ayo cuy, semangat. Ini adalah game yang fair, bukan game yang plus 6 plus 9. Ayo, ini game fair. Nggak ada mafia, no aneh-aneh, oke? Game adil, no mafia, tidak ada orang dalam, oke coy? Fair play coy.
Coba untuk Mountain Soul-nya sih ngerepotin banget ya.
Iya.
Harus sabar banget. Wah, gak kena.
Ayolah weh. Ya baronnya udah habis ya? Ya udah.
Udah habis.
And T1 constantly you're seeing that how much burst damage they can apply. Faker here.
Hampir Caps. Udah nggak ada ulti sih
sama cuman jadi gak terlalu kerasa gara-gara Mountain Soul.
Iya aja skill 2-nya jadi nggak ini lagi.
Iya. Wow.
Harusnya situ masuk ulti Faker gak ada tuh. Ahri berapa detik ulti ya? 60.
Lebih cepat enggak
30 ya?
menit.
Oh.
Ayo mana Oriana. Let's go. Anjir itu geli-geli skill 2 Oriana tuh.
Kalau tebel masalahnya mau dialin juga mereka nggak bisa anjir.
Honor harus santai cok.
Wah,
kena aman.
Oke. Ambil mic-nya dulu nggak apa-apa. Awas broken blade.
Oke. Gak ada yang
Gak bisa Wak, gak bisa masuk nih Wak.
The health bars are so good, the waves are still crushing in, but Zeus is standing.
Ngetes ini Cok, ini saling ngetes ini Cok.
Honestly, it is a slight, like that's a mini win for G2, the teleport, because teleports are very big when Elder Dragon.
Gue makin skill it, honor rupanya.
And while both inhibitors now here respawn for T1,
udah spawn
and they
kind of
deal with that extra pressure from mid and bottom, there's still going to be
Elder ya, 20 ya.
where G2 should be first to the objective, the biggest one on the map, the Elder Dragon, the evening factor.
Jacksnya udah full item lagi.
G2 as well as T1 haven't left their base in about 3 minutes time, so there's no deep wards possible unless Keria has snuck his way.
Awas, awas, awas. Awas, Allah. Mentang-mentang ada
Honor
GA
flash,
gitu.
oke.
TP and he's going to match the supers pushing in the top side. G2 have control of the river right now. Solar play.
Aduh, untung nggak kena.
Wah, anjir yang kena
Aman.
caps.
Oke, nice.
Wah, hilang capsnya.
Oh iya, hilang caps anjing. Wah, PR sih.
Wah, hilang carry-nya.
Wah. Cacat dah ente cuy. Kalah gitu. Capsnya kena, padahal caps itu yang bisa nahan jir lah, cok. Ayo, Yak, you can do this, Yak.
Capsnya bengong aja.
Yikes, you can do this, Yak. You can do this, Yak. Ya, bomnya dihancurin.
No problem for Yike, but does have the flash. Guma will take the blast cone. Yike, can you do it? We saw you steal one versus Hanu alive. He puts the Dustbringer over the wall and immediately.
Sabar, tunggu. Nice.
Mending nunggu aja.
Aduh, Baron juga spawn, jir.
Nice.
Nunggu final fight lagi nih.
And so little stands in the way.
45 menit ya, sampai 45 menit.
Muhammad Haidar Nabil bilang
enggak, ini next dulu udah final.
That was crazy. The face check there, then owner flashes away and they use the blast cone to jump onto Caps' head. Even with these defensive items we keep pointing out for G2.
Tiba kayak gini smite-nya owner jelek.
The double Zonias for both Caps and Hansama. T1 just keep on assassinating them.
Bagus
Lihat tuh
banget.
anjir di sini si owner Caps hilangnya sedetik. Cuman bener-bener sedetik anjir.
Ya dia buka ulti, owner skill 1 ulti. Dar.
Iya,
Tuh,
di depan
anjing.
dia tadi.
Langsung hilang ya.
God, owner is crazy. He's just done so much this game. You know, not to mention stealing away the Baron, but constantly good engages for them.
A minute left on the Elder Drake.
Owner rambut hitam, let's go.
All 3 inhibitors stand for G2, but I don't think that's going to be the story in the next minute's time.
Oh, dapat.
T1 now advanced down mid lane, 5 strong. They have been for the last 2
Sakit banget itu Hansama anjir.
to defend their world title.
A minute left on this.
Itu item terakhir Hansama apa itu?
You have to try and hold off, but I don't even know if you get that.
Inhib juga dapat.
Zeno
Mau
bilang
nyari
Kurjaks
ini.
emang sesakit
You've got
itu
a GA
kah?
on Guma Yushi,
Coba
you've got Faker
tanya
with the
Bang
Spirit Rush, the
Nardi.
curtain's open. I don't think
Jack
G2
emang
is
sakit itu
getting
kak.
a
Iya
second
coy, dari
axe. The
kemarin
dive
dipakai
back by
terus.
Yike, but immediately he is low. Caps already.
Wah, kelar cok.
Nah,
Anda kara
No. Yes, udah 700 view cok. Let's go Faker. Let's go T1. T1 bisa coy. Nice. Yeah, kita menang coy. Ternyata udah 700 view coy. Let's go abang Faker coy. Mantap. Nice. T1 victory. Apalah gitu ini coy.
Into some of the most clutch after clutch after clutch plays to bring the 2-0 win
Mantap.
against G2.
T1 are
Wawancara owner nggak sih? Kalau nggak Zeus.
Tulukin Azmin bilang streamer pembohong.
Enggak cuy.
Before we get into the second
Kan tadi perjanjiannya 700.
Rin bilang T2 G0.
We were so excited to see this matchup, not because G2 lost, mind you, but because of how these games can play.
Itu sebenarnya Jack sakit gara-gara emang mekanik Jacksnya jago aja ya.
Solution after solution to knock you down, and you have to be pixel perfect. It is what we've seen from T1 versus G2 all year.
Thank you, owner.
I'm not excited about it. I'm actually really sad about it, but I'm happy for the side of T1.
Berarti udah lolos T1 ya?
He now has
T1 lolos.
Qualifier.
Worlds wins with this one, and we gotta say he was instrumental once again with the flanks in this one.
Yeah, the Ahri pick has been great for him. He's looked great at this Worlds again, coming from domestic performance to here. He's looked way more comfortable. The thing that stuns me is not that
Berarti si G2 tinggal satu kali kesempatan lagi cuy. Kalau dia kalah
Dan
But
Terang
again,
bilang
menang lolos.
enough the glow up from
Enggak cuy, real cuy.
qualifying to regionals to fighting back in these team fights. Owner on the
Oh my
Vi,
God.
insane.
Crazy. He was crazy. This man, other people
Faker.
spend their lives trying to get a trophy, but he lifts them like Skittles as we head over to the Verizon post-game interview. Oh, I just tossed an interview, but I'll do it again. It's Zeus for the Verizon post-game interview.
BLG lawan
bilang
apa?
G2 nih
PSG.
kayak Mulyono bagus di tengah malah badut di akhir.
Productionnya.
Iya coy.
Okay, I think we're gonna reset. It happened to me before. We gotta sync it. We gotta sync it with everyone around the world. Hence, it needs to be pixel perfect.
Everybody needs to hear what that man in top lane has to say, and it's fair.
Yeah.
We saw the Gragas.
True.
The Jack started a bit rougher, but rounded out incredibly well. That T1 topside is,
It's so
as an
terrifying.
EU pundit,
Yeah.
infuriating.
We are going to the interview
Foto
now.
siapa
So
yang dipasang
Zeus
sama
in
dia
the
itu?
Verizon post-game interview, standing by with lore for real this time.
And welcome back to the stage for
Irfan
this
Adi
interview.
Prasetyo bilang waspada sosok Karbit.
From T1 against G2 Esports. I have Jisun, of course, to help me with the translator. Songri 축하드립니다. Thank you so much for joining me after this series. 2-0. I feel like everyone was hyped about this matchup. People even talk about a rivalry between G2 and T1. Would you say that it's a rivalry, and what was the excitement for you guys playing against them?
오늘 많은 분들이 정말 기대한 경기였는데 2대0 깔끔하게 승리하셨습니다. 또 이제 많은 팬분들이 T1, G2, G2, T1의 라이벌리에도 관심 많이 갖고 계신데 제우스 선수도 양팀
kalau misalnya BLG tiba-tiba kalah, plot twist gak sih guys?
기대하고 오셨나요?
일단 G2가 19년도에 T1을 떨어뜨리기도 했고 그래서 저도 항상 복수한다는 마음가짐으로 임하는 것 같고요. 그리고 확실히 대회에서 좀 더 뭔가 말하지 못할 그런 마력 같은 게 있는 것 같아서 까다로운 것 같습니다.
Well, G2 knocked T1 out in 2019, so I was coming here looking for a revenge here. And G2, every time there's something with them that I cannot really put in words, but something makes it really difficult to play against.
It is always a special matchup for you guys and for the fans. Zeus, how would you rate your performance today?
오늘 본인의 경기력은 어떻게 평가하고 싶으신가요?
사실 요새 탑라이너가 경기력을 보여줄 만한 게 교전이랑 한타 정도가 좀 많은 것 같은데 좀 교전이나 한타에서 아쉬운 부분이 많았던 것 같고 그리고 뭐랄까 두 판 다 초중반에 좀 더 이득 볼 수 있었을 것 같은데 잘 안 돼서 그걸 좀 팀적으로 다시 돌려봐야 될 것 같습니다.
These days, all top laners can kind of display and showcase as skirmish and team fights, but today I feel like in both games, my team fights and skirmishes were not ideal. I think I left a lot to be desired, so I think I have to work on it. And also in both games as well, I think we could have pushed a little further in the early games, so I think as a team we have to rewatch the VODs and talk about it.
I see. It is interesting given the fact that people talk about T1 at Worlds, regardless of the fact that playoffs were not the greatest for you guys. You always show up at Worlds. You always defy the expectations. Do you feel like Worlds is special for you? And how do you explain the fact that you always can bounce back?
그리고 많은 분들이 T1에 대해서 이야기할 때 사실은 뭐 정규 시즌이나 플레이오프에서 최고의 기량을 보여주지 못했더라도 월즈만 오면 정말 다시 한번 회복해서 정말 표현할 수 없는 그런 슈퍼 파워를 보여주면서 놀라운 경기력을 보여주시는데 월즈에서 T1은 언제나 이런
Kenapa muter-muter nih?
특별한 힘을 갖는다고 생각하시는지 그리고 언제나 이렇게 바운스
Bangkur.
무엇이라고 생각하시나요?
Ini kan Jax di Worlds kan lagi bagus, lagi GG. Tapi Jax yang di sebelah kok lagi rongkat itu.
선수들도 좀 그럴 때는 잘 넘겨서
Anjing sebelah rongkat.
Itu si Yuki.
Oh.
갖춰져 있고 다들 선수들도
Yuki main Jack sudah lebih bagus aja.
Oh iya ya?
Meski masih nggak bisa auto reset ya.
Sometimes we have some bad things happening throughout the regular season. Same thing happened this season as well. I think it was a collaboration of everything really bad for us, but we all know that we can just move on and also focus on Worlds entirely. So we were able to give our all here, and we always have a lot of communication about it.
And focusing on Worlds and the next step, we will see you guys in the next stage. Last year was about being the last seed of the LCK, fighting in Korea to finally get the victory. What is this Worlds about for you personally?
이제 8강에 진출하셨고 작년 서사는 이제 T1이 유일하게 남은 LCK 이제 팀으로서 4강부터 달려나가는 그런 이야기가 있었잖아요. 올해는 T1 어떤 서사를 또 그리고 있을까요?
일단 서사는 사실 그냥 열심히 살다 보면은 팬분들이나 아니면 환경이 잘 만들어 주시는 것 같고요. 중요한 거는 이제 사실 강한 팀이 워낙 많다 보니까 사실 누굴 만나도 다들 너무 경계가 많이 되는 것 같고 개인적으로도 질 뻔한 경기도 꽤 있었다고 상황을 좀 있었다고 생각해서 좀 잘 보완해야 될 것 같습니다.
I mean, storylines, narratives are not something that we write, you know? It's gonna be completed once we just do our best, and it's gonna be completed by the fans and, you know, by the environment. So we're just gonna keep on focusing our own performance, and I think there were a lot of moments where we almost lost the games as well throughout the run so far, so I think we still have to do our best.
Let's write a new page in history then. 인터뷰 감사합니다. Thank you so much, Zeus. Thank you so much, Jisun, for the translation as well. And T1's advance to the next round.
Let's go, Liquid! Fnatic, let's go! Lift the trophy!
Let's go, Genji. This is yours.
하나 3명 화이팅! 무슨 해주세요!
Jangan TS, let's win it all. Let's go, G2. This is yours.
T1 fighting. Let's do it again.
Let's go, Top Esports! Let's get it! Let's go, Fnatic! Let's win it all!
Heavy is the cloud. Lower bracket. Lawan siapa Jitu ya? Siapa yang udah 2 sama?
Dika lah, lawan Dika.
Pokoknya Jitu tuh paling apes kalau udah gini ketemunya BLG. Nah udah. BLG kan 1-2 soalnya. Dan lawan PSG gak mungkin kalah gak sih ya? Sisanya mah ya masih bisa lah.
Oh, Genji udah lolos, LNG udah lolos. Anjir, Genji sama LNG gak pernah kalah, coy.
Iya, 3-0.
Yang 2-2 itu sekarang ada D+, ada Fly, ada ya antara ini ya.
Baru di plus Fly doang. Dan BLG sih gue yakin 2-2 ya.
Ini BLG lawan LNG ya?
BLG PSG.
PSG ya.
PSG
mau udah pasti kalah aja.
Udah pasti kalah PSG. Sama tim Liquid sama Weibo paling nanti kemungkinan tuh. Masih belum match dengan mereka.
PSG ada berapa dia coy? PSG dia udah 1-2. PSG pulang ente lah PSG. Lawan BLG aja.
WBG lawan Fnatic kan?
Iya.
Kalau GAM lawan Liquid mungkin masih bisa lah ya.
Kalau GAM menang, wah luar biasa.
Ada real essential oil dan blok system pegel. Pakai
kalau GAM menang luar biasa.
Sofresh Eucalyptus. Lawan tepar dengan Wingscare. Beast mode, God level, cheat code, new age, hero, good verse, evil. I'm on the move. I'm on the move. I'm putting in work. I go berserk, got something to prove. Cause I got power. I got the energy for all of my enemies. I'm on the way, saving the day. No one ahead of me. I'm on the right here, right now.
Anjir, apalagi nih Genesis Nightbringer Yasuo anjing.
Sama, Chroma doang.
Lives in my soul, it drives me to my goal. There's no distance I won't go, cause the climb's all that I know, and I face it all on my own. So my name will be known, yeah, my name will be known. Right here, right now, this is the moment we running it. This is the moment we running it. We doing this for the love of it. Give me a
Isu yang apa itu? Yang Nightbringer yang Chroma.
Terus itu kromanya juga paling jelek kan yang ini tuh, paling kayak gak ada bedanya pada orang ngomong tuh.
Warnanya sama ya?
Iya, kagak ada bedanya sama sekali ya.
Model di splash art-nya beda sih, cuman ya di LoL PC
Model splash art doang. Begitu udah masuk ke game mah,
nambah-nambah hitam-hitamnya gitu doang ya?
nggak tahu, bener-bener gak kelihatan bedanya.
Anjir, kasus pembunuhan tukang goreng yang di Sumatera Barat mau dijadiin film anjing, what the fuck. Final juga udah jadi film, itu ternyata kebohong anjir. Bayangin cuy, penyelidikan dilakukan atas kesurupan anjing. Itu kalau FBI atau Interpol denger tuh tawa man.
Welcome back, everyone. As EU fans, hopefully, I mean, they're probably just still crying, myself included, but I had to wipe my tears off because we have another series. That's how that one went, 2-0 in the end. That does mean that G2 gets another chance to live another day, but their fate will be decided by the draw tomorrow. Who doesn't get another chance if they fail here is BLG and PSG, because we are moving into an elimination best of 3 in the 1 and 2 side of the pools. And I think we got to start, Emily, with the fact that BLG is even in this 1 and 2 position is one of the biggest surprises of Worlds so far.
It's really shocking, actually, because I know coming into this, I was like,
Nonton
okay,
DC mana?
of
DC
all
yang
the
biasa
teams
kayak
coming
deh.
in from the
Join aja nanti gue tarik.
BLG is actually the one that I was the least worried about for 2 reasons. One, they were by far and away the strongest team. And then 2, the meta looked like it was going to be a great
Emang
shift
dua-dua
for
nggak
them, right?
dikocok
Like, I'm
lagi.
like, okay, there's a
Ya
lot of
dikocok
stuff
lagi kan ada
that
banyak
Knight
yang
can play,
nilainya dua-dua
Wave
aja.
can
Yang
interact
poinnya
with his
dua-dua.
lanes a little bit more, maybe
Dikocok.
with some
Pokoknya nanti dikocok ulang, cuman yang udah pernah ketemu nggak akan ketemu lagi.
not really enjoyed their meta read, Draco.
I haven't enjoyed it either, and we take a look at some of the big picks that they've been prioritizing. It's not that it's uncommon for the picks that they're choosing to be high
dia
prio,
udah
things like the
ketemu
Jhin,
sama
but they're using them in ways that are highly questionable.
PN
Poppy's an incredible counter pick, but if you're blinding it, it's going to feel bad. The Jhin is well not powerful, but as much as I would love for that to be the talking point, the biggest thing, the biggest variable is this jungle substitution, which I think screams to the world that BLG know they have a problem, and this to me feels like a last-ditch effort to turn things around.
Yeah,
Penatik lawan WBG sih kalah Penatik ya, mungkin Penatik.
With both junglers, is a little bit more risky and will potentially go for more carry picks. So I don't know if they're gonna change.
Penatik kagak main makro kayak gitu soalnya anjir.
Do better and
makronya kurang.
we'll see if it works.
Barbar aja ya.
Iya, mereka nyari pick, nyari team fight. Cina dia adu team fight, aduh.
The question is, will they be able to do it here?
Iya.
That is the major question on our minds, Shocks, because we've already had one MSI rematch go the way.
Cina diadu tim fight.
Disappointing start to Worlds 2024, and when we see PSG continue to make their way up.
Ini mah nggak usah nonton guys sih. BLG pasti menang.
Iya udah pasti menang sih.
Jangan gitu, Cok.
Tuh, coach aja udah bilang easy game ini bro katanya. Kecil dikit lah cuy.
Tuh udah pada ketawa, BLG sih udah pada ketawa tuh.
Mohon maaf ya, PSG ya.
Udah 2-0 aja nggak sih, udah biar cepet tuh.
Bahasanya mereka lawan apa? SSG aja kesulitan lah, keren.
Itu yang baju putih sponsornya Masako apa Sasa tuh jadi aja.
Masako
di bawah sebelah kanannya. Coba nanti lihat. Di bawah sebelah kanan.
Masako cina.
Tuh bulat tuh ada bulat biru tuh.
Hitman itu, Cok.
Oh, kayaknya bukan nggak sih?
From BLG, right? Especially when you look at the bot lane, like Elkanon trying to play heavily into that 2v2.
Tuh, ya kan?
Kuma bilang nggak boleh gitu KDK, harus respect
satu
satu
ya,
sama
anjir.
lain.
Ya tapi nggak Masako juga lah, Bang.
Tapi versi Korea itu, Jir.
Enggak Cina kan, itu tim Cina.
Iya Cina.
Holiday welcome to membership.
Gue malah itu ngeliat kayak lebih logo apa sih, air minum.
Halo Holiday, welcome. Udah mulai aja Jir. Cepat baca dibanding game sebelah.
Sebenarnya naikin viewer dulu tadi. Bang Bin main apa Bang Bin? Jax.
Kalau ngajak Renekton pasti.
Benar. Dia oh enggak.
Lack of good meta
Aurora lah.
where they've kind of gone for these low
Mana ada Aurora?
Kayaknya Aurora bakal di event.
Iya di ban.
Ya, Genarnya di ban.
Itu counter Jax.
And they've been pretty open that both Shun and Wei have been sharing scrims, like different times. So both of them playing with the team. If they slam a Kindred pick, like that will actually be insane.
Orang ini dia ketawa-ketawa, Cok, anjing kita udah rungkat aja, Cok, katanya.
It would be super hype.
PSG kalau mau itu main dengan gaya nggak sih mainnya Suho?
Both of those were very prominent picks.
Double beratur.
Ari langsung di ban ya.
BLG itu belum pulang cuy. PSG pasti pulang.
Gak gitu dong. Antum maksa banget. Antum maksa banget.
Iya, belum go home, pasti go home.
PSG pulang juga. Apa sih Maple mainnya? Ini kan Smolder ya? Yone.
Iya.
Di band paling.
Paling sih kena pakai Oriana lah, Cok.
Anjing
Yone di band. Wah, udahlah.
Yone di band.
PSG mau nyari itu Aurora tuh.
And this is actually what we got to
Oh,
do
diambil sama diri.
this tournament as well.
Yone-nya
Where
diambil nggak
we
sih?
got the Yone
Nggak usah
first
dibiarin
pick,
aja.
Aurora.
counter, and the Aurora actually ended up coming out on top.
Sidik Wadil, Amin, welcome to membership Kuro Chania bro.
Tengok tuh ya, coachnya BLG tuh ya. Mantan midnya T1 tuh.
Udah di kanan Yone. Ini mau kai.
One, because it can match up into the Yone fairly well, but two, you also get that flexibility where you can put it top if PSG don't take the Yone here.
Sejuani nggak sih?
Aduh, Winnet Yone turun dong.
Oh gitu abang.
Tuh, pikem Yone itu win rate paling gede anjir. Gue udah nebak paling gede cuman aduh turun dong.
Sejuani. Apa ya?
Oh, cuma Sejuani.
Gak mungkin Zira dong. Nocturne bisa sih, Nocturne.
Udah di ban.
Anjing nampak.
A bunch of pressure on your opponent, but if you have the threat that Sejuani, it turns it into a whole new level. The next kind of mind game though that has emerged that I actually liked what
anjir.
Kalau Wukong nggak tahu lah, memang ke Cina-Cina sana tuh mainnya Wukong.
If you're going to go into this style, you are going to be committing to some melee short-range compositions, very often dive compositions, and then you can try and craft counter dive.
Gak mungkin nggak sih Jarvan sekarang.
Answers to that. It is very dangerous, of course, but I actually do think the Aurora was a good place to start, and they're going to follow it up here.
Okay.
Yeah, with the Wukong again, kind of that carry-oriented pick that we were talking about, potentially coming through for Shun, and I think it facilitates well in the hey, I'm going to use the Aurora ult to group everyone up, and then Wukong comes in and just swings that staff.
Wah, yo bingung kamu mau main apa top lane-nya.
BLG, and I think this is definitely a shift away from what they came into the last couple of games with.
Kopi.
Anjir, Bang Bin dapat Jax tamat sudah.
Anjir dikasih cannon gak tuh?
Cannon.
Oh iya,
ini udah for fun aja nggak sih cuy?
Iya, udah aku bilang pasti mainnya Indo aja, keluar dengan gaya cuy.
Cannon Wukong.
Mengalah dengan gaya.
We'll see how effectively Azure is able to play. This is one of his most played course of his career. Now we move down towards the AD carry and support roles.
Fein.
Potential and also the knowledge of where people are on the map by taking away that choice.
Yeah, a lot of times if the opening of the draft is very AoE, very cluster oriented, then the AD carries start looking at, all right, we either got to be able to follow along with all of this dive and actually that's going or we have to be able to escape it. And so you see stuff like this.
Kalista di kanan sih bagus.
Yusuf Hidayatullah bilang 300 views Kuro dukung PSG.
That have more mobility that can try and play around that.
Kalista's also the one that's
Jin nggak sih?
trying to eye out for. Just take that on the next
Iya,
rotation.
dari kemarin Jin ke Garates tuh ngasih ide ke T1 main Jin. Rese banget anjir.
Enggak emang soalnya udah nggak ada ADC lain yang lebih bagus.
Sama lagi strateginya 3 frontline.
Be very happy to play it. Like the Rakan is a respect band on, but the Kalista and Renata.
Wah, nggak dikasih main
Kalista di
tuh. Udahlah General nggak sih? Nggak usah General apa?
Nggak bisa main Jin kanan. Mati.
Gak ada badan nih. Oh support ya.
Kurang badan terus ada Aurora sama Wukong udah pasti mati ya.
Gak mungkin Ziggs kan?
Justru lebih bagus Ziggs kalau emang mereka main.
Iya. Ziggs sih seru sih. Yuk apa sih?
Iya nggak salah sih kalau mereka mau Ziggs bisa.
Tiba-tiba pakai Twitch pula.
Taunya itu Kenan DC.
Kenan DC. Bisa kah?
Nggak bisa. Jelek.
Anjir,
MF Betty ya? Apa sih? Oh, Elk.
Belum. Masih mikir katanya.
Ya mungkin dong, adesnya belum ketahuan pick.
Jin. MF.
Tetap MF sih harusnya. Kanan juga soalnya banyak engage. Kalau misalkan main Jin, diambil tuh kan Ziggs-nya udah dipindahin.
Ya.
Oh enggak. Masih
Oh.
bingung tuh. Aduh kasih nggak ya?
Bisa lah Belgium melawan Ziggs juga.
Sengaja itu dia bukan nggak mau ngasih itu Nadi.
Mancing.
Bukan. Dia nunjukin lu mau pakai ini kan lo.
Iya.
Iya.
Ini kan
memperlihatkan kalau dia kebaca. Mau pakai ini kan lo.
Udah kebaca. Lu mau pakai ini kan? Coachnya udah bingung.
Enggak, gua pakai Ezreal katanya.
Strategi apa? Reverse strategi ya?
Reverse lagi. Lu pasti ngira gua mau pakai ini kan? Oh enggak cuy.
Reverse psikologi tuh. Damn. Ini kah?
Boleh.
League of Legends.
Boleh.
IQ 120 cuy.
Yellow. Taunting ya.
Ya semoga aja ya. Cannonnya ulti di tempat Aurora.
Hilang dong Auroranya.
And he really showed up and proved himself against kind of his, heroes or players that he looks up to in that series. So I'm really looking forward to the part 2 to this and kind of the follow-up.
Ayo dong PSG kayak Fly Quest kemarin, kasih perlawanan gitu, enak nontonnya anjing.
Warriors back when Elk was still Jomong, so
Tadi owner keren
Fly
banget.
Quest bisa menang ya lawan LPW?
Iya
Itu kaget. Nggak ada yang tahu Nunu tuh ngapain ya.
Iya, ngepick Nunu menang anjir.
Beneran itu, soalnya kelihatan match-nya nggak ada yang tahu ini Nunu tuh hero-nya ngapain ya.
Kemarin nggak nonton karena paling menang itu. Menang Fly Quest anjir.
Soalnya nonton tuh ada Renek, Tele di depan Nunu yang lagi nge-costing snowball skill 3.
Iya.
Si Kesha sampai nungging tuh nontonnya.
Iya, marah-marah deh, Cok.
Udah jelasin kayak satu tim kayaknya ini Nunu tuh ngapain sih.
Best of 3 for a spot in Paris, for a spot in the
Selek banget jalan Jax anjing.
For the third time today.
So much goes along with this series as well, with the interview and Maple kind of referencing that this might be his retirement year. Such a legendary player on the international stage, and he's been given the pick of the tournament.
Masih turu, gue pick dulu.
Of course, was not free, did come at the cost of giving over Knights Aurora, but definitely will be looking.
Ayo ingat guys, kalau PSG menang plot twist, plot armor.
That is back to make some big plays.
We'll be looking at the mid
Kalau
lane.
PSG menang berarti Belgium mau farming lawan G2.
Wis gila. Nyari view lagi Kak Riot.
Real.
Capsules, get yourself all those little trinkets, all those little toys. I know I'm a bit of a completionist myself. If I see something shiny on the ground, gotta pick it up.
I've never met more of a grinder than you. I'm not gonna lie. Second you have something in your sights.
My Diablo 4 character already like Paragon 200. It's fine. It's okay, please Rob, please validate me.
No, look, this is actually an intervention.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I didn't realise. My mistake. BLG setting up down towards the bottom side. Did look for a moment like they might lane swap, but instead they were just trying to get bush control in the top side. Often we do see a ward placed when you do this. I think Knight may have placed his ward in that bush. Actually, he's gone over towards the Razor Beak. So what you
Tapi kalau realnya mainnya bagus, engage-nya bagus sih, jadi tontonan yang menarik ya.
Drop minion aggro in that top lane, and it looks like Azure should be able to continually harass there as Bin and him trade.
Yang kemarin ultinya Yone kemana itu siapa cok? Tim siapa? Matt Lion lawan siapa itu kemarin? Gam ya?
MBK lawan Gam.
Okay, Woody, not quite been able to get the crash down there, but
yang ulti Rumble gak kena, ulti Yone gak kena.
Slowly starting to come through, I'd imagine, in mid lane as well. I think
Matt lawan Gam sih.
Where's this top side and contest for Scuttle, which is really where you want to be, is this Wukong, because hitting level 6, getting out onto the map.
Ngantuk. Ini udah 2-0 nih pasti nih gue jamin.
Siapa tahu mau farming viewer, ngepur BLG.
And he is on his legendary Jax, but of course with both of those junglers sharing scrims with the team and playing this whole time, very could be evened up by Shun. Wukong, notoriously looking for the level 6 though, so you would generally, just on paper, give the early ganks a bit more potency on the side of the Sejuani until the level 6 comes in, and the Wukong a bit more scaling and damage threat, of course.
And that was the thing on the upside when we saw Shun coming in, he kind of put a lot of focus on towards that bottom side for a lot of their games, especially when you look at like their series against LNG and that. So I think for BLG, it's going to be a case of trying to see if they can have that access to the bottom side. I don't think they can really get Woody, as Woody's, or sorry, Betty, I should say, because Betty has that arcane shift, but Woody will be way more vulnerable to that sort of gank, especially with the lockup that On can provide. So I think BLG more going to be looking towards, say, the level 6 with those potential ganks, but also Void Grubs as they start to come through for that second round.
See Jun kind of pathing down towards that bottom side to get the Scuttle Crab. Junja has taken control over the top side. Bin had to TP back as he was harassed by Azure. Not too much surprising in this early game. The MF managing to get push into a Ezreal lane. Kind of to be expected. She has a lot of damage.
Chill dulu coy, selama 29 menit coy.
Cuma 1 game dong, Bang.
Of course, worth noting that the Leona there on is taking
masih lama nih berantemnya nih.
Later on into the game, but also serves its purpose in those all-ins if our junglers do find themselves, ganking the bottom lane and trying to play off that wave management. Definitely does kind of put a stop to some of those very, very heavy all-ins.
Just keep my eyes on what Shun is up to, because, oh, hang on,
Bin gets the counter strike.
Oh, Bin?
For the empower in a couple of seconds.
Ya, nge-flash dia takut banget.
Doesn't want to be hit with the lamppost from Bin.
That's pretty crucial though, because you like having those solo laners hit 6 just in time for like Void Grub fights or anything like that. So not having that, not having that flash available for that combo is going to be a bit sad.
Real?
He does have the exhaust and a flash of his own. Zenith plays onto Junja to try and get himself away. Exhaust on the Sejuani.
Nah, kan betul katain kan, kalau relnya bagus tuh ada tontonan menarik gitu.
Nice job by Woody to get the crash down on towards On, trying to base in PSG, hoping that Shun would be in position, but Junja's already there, and the value at this early stage for the Sejuani getting multiple CC chains off is just perfect for PSG.
Yeah, the timing was so nice too, with Junja heading down, finish up the Gromp, and the flash.
Bahkan pakai counter Jax saja masih kalah itu top lane.
Some of the biggest moments for PSG. The first blood acquired for PSG, and in the area that they want it, yeah, the Sejuani is the one to actually get the final hit, because On did a pretty good job of trying to use Jinjia as an exit, but still very happy to actually cash in, and very nice gold lead for PSG in the opener.
And a lot of that control that PSG got in their series against BLG at MSI was through that bottom lane, so starting to see a repeat performance of Light in trouble.
Fate Seal going in. Knight's going to be able to jump away, can use the between worlds to dash out, but that's an ultimate for ultimate exchange in the mid lane.
You'll take that though as PSG, because Knight way less threatening with that ultimate down at these early stages. Also the fact that you get mid push means you get to move over straight away towards these Void Grubs. And look at Shun, he's not even close to that level 6, and Bin in the same boat, so he's a little bit off, has to finish out this wave, which means BLG not really in a position to contest.
Yeah, for sure. PSG just going to be able to get these Void Grubs no problem, and if you look at the domino effect of some of those plays, guess what a mid-prio for Yone could turn into? It's more ganks on bottom side. Jinjia could go down back bottom side, as well as possible Maple Roam. So there are a lot of good things building up towards consecutive plays, since not only On used summoner spells in the bottom side, but it was also Elk in their attempts to evade.
Also just putting Knight on edge a little bit, right? Making him burn his ultimate is so important because Knight has so consistently been a stalwart of the LPL. I think if people only follow International League of Legends, they won't really see Knight as this dominant character. But he's a 5-time LPL champion, tied first in LPL championships. He's been at Worlds 4 times. And although the furthest he's ever made is semi-finals, he's widely regarded as one of, if not the best mid laner in the world, depending on the time of year.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely the best mid laner in the LPL and is the kingmaker in the LPL. He's been in the last 6 LPL finals. He has won 4 in the last finals and is now starting to tie people for most LPL titles with the likes of Xiaohu and these guys. Like, adding a Worlds title to this guy just makes him the most decorated LPL player of all time.
And it feels like such a weird thing to talk about when they're 1,000 goal behind PSG in the 1-2 matches, right? Because this is not where BLG expected to be. It's kind of where PSG expected to be. His best should be able to go away. The Zenith Blade's going in, then he's trying to trade back onto Elk. On went in with the Zenith Blade himself, doesn't have the exhaust up. Now he's taking the Magnet Storm coming out as well. And what is Elk doing?
Oh, jago tuh bang, jagalnya bang. Beuh.
Bagus banget relnya, Cok.
In the end, he's left to his demise.
Well, the thing is,
Kok lemas gini guys? Nontonnya guys, kenapa guys?
some of these worlds winning rosters was Junja, and he's keeping it going.
Goes in with the glacial.
Nah, let's go, guys. Lo. Ya.
Kok?
Still take one, Junja falls.
Ya.
Loh, sakit banget.
Itu bisa flash ke depan.
Cuk, masih bisa guys itu.
Wow, nice banget.
Oh.
But Betty puts him in the dirt.
And PSG, the reason they keep forcing on that bottom side is because all the setup work that they had done, all of these extra advantages going into it. So even though Shun is there to cover on the first attempt, and it actually takes the second attempt for them to finally get a counter kill, it is still so much more worth for PSG because they blew all the bot lane summoners first time around. And then as you can see, Junjie could just kind of walk right by Shun and they punish On again. He was still only level 4 to Woody's 6, like massive difference. There's no way you can ever fight the even numbers, and it's just by the skin of their teeth. Like, what HP was that? Like 30?
Itu tadi kalau relnya mengorbankan sedikit 1 damage bisa sih.
Wrong for BLG.
MF-nya mati ya.
You're kind of like celebrating Shun got 1 counter kill at least.
Ragu.
It is still so overwhelmingly into the game plan of PSG for them to continue to play around here. And we'll see if there are extra knock-on effects if Maple becomes unleashed as well.
Well, the thing is, the knock-on effect is Alj has had a free lane to himself, and he's been doing a great job against Bane. You can see a 600 gold lead opening up thanks to CS and the turret plates he's been able to get. And now, when you start to look at things like dragons that are still up and available, the Void
LPL mah mainnya late game gak sih? Karena Toto late game menang.
to be an outright carry for PSG Talon. BLG need to find some way back into this game, or PSG Talon can just run away.
Ini farming Yone sama Ezrealnya dulu nih.
Look at the bottom of the screen. It's like a good library. Red. You know, it's
Cuman kalau mau team fight bareng menangan BLG
trying to get mid control so they can fight over this Scuttle Crab and the Grubs that are coming up in 40 seconds time, but PSG are using the time to take a Drake for themselves. They know they can then go across and even try to catch Knight out, who'll get the Blast Cone, but Ginger's going to follow him across.
Talon Knight.
Caught out with the Glacial Prism. True Shot Barrage coming out as well, and Knight now has to
Whoa!
the clutches of Ginger.
So much damage could have come through, and
Iya, udah kelar
that's a
sih.
summoner spell again. They still have 3 people on bottom side. You see Leona coming to hover, but Knight just has to stand and watch. Look at all these minions.
Viewernya turun 200.000 katanya. Habis T1 sama G2 main.
But another very smart play here from PSG to cut off more resources from the hands of BLG. So many minions dying.
And Funnel Betty, who has just been such a monumental carry for this PSG roster as well. Like, after he left the LPL and came in towards the PCS, this guy was an absolute beast, and he's only continued to show up for this roster. Now that he's on 2-0, he's going to have this Triforce completed off of the 3 set as well. He's in prime position to play out of his mind to try and carry PSG across the line. Plus, again, you don't have a huge amount of lockup that can really keep him in check. He has the cleanse for anything that On has, then has the Arcane Shift and a Flash for so much of what BLG are trying to bring to the table.
Exactly. One of the few AD carries that doesn't completely pull out their hair and scream that an Aurora is on the enemy team. Actually has some
Maple kenapa dipinggil Mbappe dah?
Plus, as you can see, PSG
Soalnya Mbappe dari PSG dulu.
multiple gangs.
Oh iya bola ya.
Iya, sekarang kan di Real Madrid.
Anjir lucu banget Mbappe.
Become a nightmare for them later on.
Oh, Maple, Mbappe. Oh iya. Iya, Mbappe ya. Iya, paham.
For denying Knight a couple of waves in the bot side, so it's 3 grubs apiece for both these teams, but a TP coming in by PSG. They know Knight has no flash.
Hanya demi seorang Aurora, kita lihat.
Expected. Maple here to catch the wave. On their way across as well. You can see the ward place.
Kur, gitu jam berapa main, Kur?
Udah kalah bang.
Habis ini.
Udah kalah bang.
Udah pulang. Bang. Menyayat ya pertanyaannya.
Distracted by Knight. Betty dashing back in between worlds.
Ya kena ulti. Gak ada yang kena Yone-nya.
And just like that, it crumbles in PSG's fingers. It almost turns to dust. A triple kill for Elk is huge. That almost brings them back to gold parity. Still a lead for PSG, but you have to be so careful over chasing into the jungle, into so much AoE. The idea was there, but the execution was off.
Bale, Aziz, bale.
BTW, LGL kemarin baru pertama kali masuk World ya?
Apa?
LGL pertama kali masuk World ya? LGL,
Masing-masing apa kan ada ini. Ada dikasih kursi.
Dia baru pertama kali kah? Struggle banget lihat ya.
And that was just good timing from BLG. You could look at the rest of the map and PSG hadn't set up their waves to really be a threat anywhere. There's still slow push on bot side for Maple and that wave disintegrated for Betty. So BLG getting time alone with this turret.
SG apa? Sengoku ya?
On towards this top, our bot side
SSG
will still be first tower, I believe, for PSG.
No, I think BLG take it. They have demolished, right? They have 3 people in the demolish from Bin. They should be able to take this one first. Maple trying to match, as you say, on the bottom side, but BLG with
masuk.
Invests a lot to make sure they take the first turret. And it does give them that gold infusion that they were looking for.
Yeah, BLG, you can't make mistakes against them like that very frequently. They immediately take control on the map. Offensively up to the top side, steal away the red buff in addition to that top tower, and just chaining the objectives here. This is well ahead of the timer for the Dragon too, so they can even match up for that as well.
You can see the flip on the MasterCard lane economy snapshot when it comes towards the gold, but PSG want to flip this objective as well.
Bin has no teleport, so the fact that Aja has walked here and BLG see Aja here, they should know, all right, fine. PSG, you have the numbers. We're just going to keep Bin splitting on bottom side. You can have a Rift Herald, which will at least be a nice takeaway.
Yeah, get more gold back for Bin, who is 24 CS as expected in a ranged into melee matchup in the top lane that was left to its own devices, but he's only about 250 gold out of pocket right now. Woody looking towards top lane though. Knight does have that between worlds in his flash, probably about 10 seconds away from coming off cooldown. He'll respect it and back away. Because of that, PSG should just be able to secure the tower. Knight might come back though. Wonder, is he going to step forward? They don't have vision. He's just waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I think he's respecting it. On it reset, shouldn't reset, and then actually started to shift kind of over towards mid to cover that mid lane play. So it's a nice read from PSG.
Kuro masih hidup kah? Masih cuy. Tapi ya itu nggak apa-ngapain coy. Apa yang bisa gue lihat cuy. Tidak jokian sama KD cuy.
Aku nunggu BLG langsung menang sih. Mereka mainnya agak serius.
Can't quite take the tower, but it does get mid prio for PSG. There's a second Drake afoot if they decide that is their priority.
Maple has TP, Knight doesn't, so Maple kind of hiding out, seeing if you can.
Tapi kalau BLG lengah bisa kayak SLAI kemarin nggak sih kalah sama FlyQuest?
PSG playing at the map well right now.
Terlalu chill ya kan? Tahu-tahu PSG 2. kayak FlyQuest.
far delayed in this game. Now even Stevens in terms of gold with Betty, and if he is left at the back of a fight with no one threatening him, he is just going to rip you to shreds. He'd like playing Enter the Gungeon, but in League of Legends, just dodging every bullet you can.
Another big pivotal thing to look at in the setup for the next team fight is who will mark this Kennen. Always so big, especially when the Kennen does have flash.
PSG menang kok.
Flank coming in for the big team fight.
Ntar late game juga menang dah BLJ mah.
Maples making his escape here. On still chasing them.
Yeah, it really felt like they just wanted the ultimate out of him, right? It means that if you are going to fight around something, it becomes a bit easier. Make him burn that, has to wait for the core.
Aduh, cuman beneran game turu ya.
Iya, nunggu. Paling ntar late game-nya BLJ menang kan. PSG nge-thrower.
PSG are still holding on towards mid. They have push on bot.
Baron pertama kelihatan yang nge-slow, baron kedua endgame.
Something, but I think you're pretty happy as PSG that you get everything there for just Maple's ult, which is 3/4 of the way, or sorry, about a third of the way done.
PSG Taiwan ya? Yang Brazil apa?
Brazil tuh pengen gaming.
PNG ya? Pain.
Iya.
Really tell who scales better. It really comes down to execution, right? Like if Azure gets in without being exhausted, obviously he's going to rip through BLG. If the MF ult gets up and hits 3 people, obviously Elk's going to.
But they're always the most fun, right? Where you just get to see everything thrown in the kitchen sink and see who comes out on top.
And I know, Yone's got the magnifying glass on him for the whole tournament, but I'm truly looking at Betty, and you guys were both correctly so giving him so much praise earlier.
Udahlah terkena farming lah ini sama tim Cina.
Cleanse Flash Ezreal.
Mereka lagi nabung Ezreal. Gimana nih Kennen? Kabur.
Mantap nggak bang tadi T1 mainnya? Oke lah Zeus tadi.
Deciding that they couldn't defend anyway, so they want to make sure they open up the map.
And it's not a bad idea.
Ternyata beliau diam-diam tapi menahan berak.
Itu tadi kayaknya Pro udah tiduran aja.
Iya itu. Nahan berak dia tuh.
Lo tidur tadi, Bray.
Dari questnya sih Kuro.
Nearly 800 gold lead for himself in that mid lane now.
And the towers on
Berarti yang ketemu Genji FlyQuest ya?
the secondary ones are 800 gold for your team.
Kapan teh?
Genji
mah udah itu. Genji mah kan udah 3-0.
Tinggal nunggu di atas.
Iya.
And what better place to concentrate?
Lagi liburan Genji mah sekarang.
Liburan gitu.
Iya, Cok, enak banget, Cok. Masih di Eropa ini kan, belum di Paris.
Masih lah. Lah ya Paris kan Eropa juga anjir.
Oh iya, astagfirullah.
Genji jangan-jangan lagi recording itu guys. Recording menang World. Udah recording duluan.
Iya. Disiapin dulu ntar jadinya rilis semua.
buat konten gitu ya.
Di unarchive dulu. Siapa tahu menang.
I think it's more of a case we're going to need to wait and see how this next team fight turns out at Dragon. So then that
masing-masing tim ini, Cok, udah bikin baju Worlds 2024 juara.
Alright, well, that side lane focus
PD dulu.
completed a stride breaker.
Tadi waktunya pas playoff aku kira Pain bakal lolos terus loh. Dia mainnya bagus itu sih. Levi. Ternyata kalah sama apa kemarin? MDK.
Honestly, it's just so big. So we'll see what Maple can do with it. Of course.
Diam-diam baik, Bang. Nggak ada yang bisa dikomentarin, cuy.
Kasihan sih nonton PSG, cuy. Viewernya juga nanyain T1.
2013 on Gamina Bears, all the way back in the age of yore, you have to feel, when it comes to modern League of Legends, has been so consistently on top team, so consistently championships. Would be an incredible performance by him if he is able to make it to the quarterfinals, obviously alongside his compatriots on PSG. Still relatively even though. We talk about it.
Oh, ada Mak Betty cuy.
Tinted glasses because they are
Gak gitu. Sekalian aja lo bilang ada ular di sepatuku Woody gitu kan.
On court out will burn the flash.
Oh, Gam. Iya, sorry, salah. Gam bagus kemarin. mainnya.
Masih ada main lagi itu.
Gam
Sekali lagi besok.
Gam berarti masih main kan ya, Aman?
Besok tuh lawan Liquid cuman.
Bagus mainnya Levi, cuma pick dia udah ketahuan karena terus
Udah keluar semua ya.
Shivana.
Cuman
Karena
Liquid
Mikasanya nggak ada.
lawan Liquid kan itu susah 4 Korea ya.
Iya. Lawan SSG aja kemarin, tapi enggak sih, SSG gak main sama sekali, kasihan anjir. Japan ini banget, sedih nonton.
Iya.
4 Korean plus 1 pemain Zigzag kan. Ya, Kenan mau kemana Kenan?
Lah, dimajuin.
Wow, tim fight di DG, anjay. Cannonnya balik, menang pula tuh BLG. Tiga ada TP. Jauh banget. Relnya masuk. Ulti dari Sejo nih.
Enggak cuy, enggak bakal ada fight cuy, kabur aja nih semua nih.
DG-nya cok. Oh. Wanjay.
Kepisa banget itu fight. Lah, masa sih BLG kalah?
BLG ini bercanda apa beneran ini gak sih?
Gak tahu.
Guys, BLG bercanda kan guys?
Farming Ezreal dulu nggak sih?
Nabung Ezreal kan guys, ini guys. Udah Maya, udah boleh tuh diklaim tuh.
BLG jangan kalah dong cuy. Ini kalau BLG kalah gamenya
jadi lama.
Jadi lama nih.
Enggak kali, BLG kali mau ketemu G2 kata Koma.
Wow, nice.
Enggak kan kalau habis ini kalah udah ditendang mereka ya.
Mereka 3.
Ini 1-2, bukan yang 2-1 ya.
Wah, bagus banget.
Lah,
what?
Gimana nih BLG?
The hell? Kok mabok gini sih?
They joking, right? Enggak, kirain mereka main nyantai gini tuh masih 1-2 gitu.
Mungkin karena dua-duanya jadi deg-degan guys.
1-1 maksudnya. Ini 1-2 mereka. Habis
Ya kalau PSG kalau udah gugur kan harusnya.
Anjir, kirain chill teh masih ada lower bracket BLG.
Wah, mati nggak tuh? Oh enggak. Iya.
Maple-nya gacor banget.
Jax yang diusir sama Yone ini.
And Betty evading the Leona ultimate on the edge of the Aurora ultimate, on the edge of the Misfortune ultimate. So much for PSG off the back of this.
Slow guys. Plot twist ini, plot twist. PSG menang.
They have control of the entire rift right now. And they
Nah, tengok tuh. Oh, ya nggak jadi.
Aman.
Nice banget flashnya. Ya, terus ngapain? Hampir kena, cok.
Dikit banget nyoy.
For the next minute and 20 seconds for PSG, but right now they've called off the push.
Ini BLG, kenapa BLG?
Look at the goal difference. Powered by AWS, the bottom of your screen. PSG have been playing
Ini BLG, BLG langsung menangin aja, cok. Masa gamenya 2-1 sih?
Enggak kali mau ngasih 0-2 ke PSG. Mau lawan G2 dia. Enggak pulang ya, lupa lagi.
Pulang tapi.
Iya pulang. Ini mah beneran ngantuk BLG berarti guys. bukan ngalahin.
Ya lagian pun kalau kalah aing main di lower katanya gitu ya kan.
Enggak katanya pulang
Gak ada lower, ini
1-3.
udah gak ada
Nggak ada
lower.
lower BLG.
Kalah udah hilang.
Hah? BLG udah
Pulang.
kalah 2-1. Oh iya, sorry. Kalah
1-3
mati Iwan
katanya.
kemarin ya. Sorry, lupain.
BLG soalnya emang perang dari awalnya kan lawan siapa?
Temu LCK semua ya.
Iya. Dari awal emang lawannya yang gila-gila.
Alah sia boy itu ultinya kemana?
Oh Yone setengah darah.
Oh, Betty.
Gak bisa sih.
Nice
Dengan kalah ini BLG.
Ezreal MVP.
Bang kok kita menang bang main nge-troll gini bang katanya.
Gak nge-troll juga lah cok.
Sumpah ini kalau BLG kalah sih gak lucu ya.
Udah
Demi apa PSG yang tadi kalah lawan apa?
Udahlah kasihlah 1-0 lah.
Wow.
Ya nggak apa-apa tapi biar win rate Yone naik lagi.
Bapak tadi bilang turun bapak.
Emang seburuk itu win rate-nya Yone di World?
Enggak, Yone paling gede win rate-nya.
Oh,
Kan ada itu di
tambah
divisi itu ada yang
dong.
tebak-tebakan itu kan. Gue sih emang udah nebak Yone win rate paling gede.
Iya kemarin kan
Ya,
Cap
makin pasti.
si Chovy.
Iya.
Siapa lagi yang main Yone?
Gua malah Aurora anjir. Salah dong gua. Jancok kan.
Aurora di ban.
Aurora jelek di ban terus kalau enggak itu harus combo kalau Aurora. Kalau Yone enggak emang dia emang terlalu bagus di sideline sama buat party juga terlalu bagus.
Udah sakit itu 3 item Ezreal. Allah sia boy.
Apa tuh?
Wah
kena
bagus.
ulti.
Itu kena.
Bagus tapi itu diisi.
Lah, ini dia.
Wah, comeback.
Wah bagus banget Ezreal.
Ini dia.
Ezreal menang, Cok.
Ada ular di
ini.
sepatumu.
Bang Bin tungguin.
Itu Yone.
Iya Bang Min mah. Percaya.
Bisa tuh cok 1v1 cok sebenarnya. Itu tuh Betty skill 3 skill 4.
Wajib.
Emang versus everyone cok.
Ya kalau udah teleport
Dikasih dong.
bisa.
Oh tele. Telebin.
Oh iya.
Wah.
Gak mau. Gila.
Smite ya.
Nah, ini dia Billy.
Oh
ya.
Kita skill 1.
Ya ini dia Billy.
Menunda kekalahan doang ini mah coy.
Ya.
Enggak sih justru itu gara-gara objektif bounty harusnya bisa balik ya. Si Elf ini dapat 1000 gold. Elf dapat 1000 gold itu bisa balik ini game. Oh. Kagak kena apa-apa itu ulti sejuani.
Enggak ada damage sih Yone tadi pas kena 3 orang.
Itu juga nggak ada damage aja.
Tapi kalau Ezreal ya tadi nggak di belakang Sejuani bisa sih, masih bisa bertahan sih.
Iya kenapa bisa mereka ya?
Nah tahu nanti ya.
Oh tapi kalau nempel kena MF deh, mati.
Nah itu mereka masuk bareng, cuman kena double up tuh.
Iya.
Itu dia.
Langsung hilang aja.
Hilang anjing.
Tapi binnya, Jaxnya bin sih. Always survive. Udah 4-1 gitu. Gak mati-mati Jaxnya bin. Ajaib emang.
Back to my early point.
Ayolah PSG, berikanlah tontonan terbaik.
Overall game too. I still have a lot of faith in PSG, even with this like slight speed bump that they have run into. As soon as he gets his summoner spells back, it is just so hard for this BLG setup to actually put.
Engage Wukongnya sih yang dari tadi rada questionable tuh.
Ngeganggu banget ya.
Maksa banget, maksa banget.
That 1,000 gold, though, we'll see if that actually ends up paying off there for BLG.
I mean, it's 4 items on Elk now. Hasn't gone for the upgraded boots. Don't really need them on MF because you have that strut on. That solar flare was a mile.
Ooh, so close.
Gets caught with the glacial prison. Has no.
Lagi-lagi kena.
The world between is Woody trying to escape.
Ya. Bas Lightyear datang menyelamatkan.
Ya, itulah.
Udah sih.
Iya sih.
Udah sih.
Ya, itulah.
Gak ada damage cannon-nya.
Itu sih ya.
Udah sih.
Itu sih ya. Itu maksudnya.
Ya udahlah. Terima kasih atas tontonannya.
Masih
jadi
belum
imbang lagi.
Ini.
Iya, masih jadi imbang lagi, Cok.
Bet ulti nyampah Baron ya kan?
Iya. Wujuh, show kedua lucu.
Another objective bounty on top of it. Lot of bounty gold, both objective and champion going the way of BLG.
Ya inilah lawan LPL. Ngadu late game mah.
In the last couple of plays.
And a bunch of tier 2s still for them to take. You can see the goal basically even, about 800 between the two now. After On missed this, I thought PSG had a way into the fight. They catch out On, but he's able to escape. They don't really have the CC follow-up, and then this between worlds is...
Auroranya bagus banget ultinya tadi.
Yeah, especially since it denies Maple access to the fight. He went with the soul back towards the original starting point, which meant he couldn't get involved. The ult here as well. Just access to Elk once again means he gets the full unleash of the bullet.
Enggak sih, gue lebih bingung. Itu tadi rel dapet ini 2 lumayan. Gak ada yang bisa follow up. Gak ada yang masa follow up juga. Gak sinkron mereka ya. Padahal itu sekali masuk pasti hilang tadi 2 yang di kiri ya.
Langsung balik gak tuh duitnya? Perasaan tadi jauh banget. Tuh, merahnya.
But On has his exhaust ready, so goal number 1 for BLG. On mark the cannon, always be on the same side as the cannon. You can keep him out. There's no flash on the cannon, so it honestly should be pretty easy for BLG to avoid that devastating flank.
Yeah, I think if you're PSG, you just sack a couple of towers. You try and put up a little bit of a front, but it's more of a game face than anything else.
Ezreal nyari apa GA gitu.
At the same time, Cannon in the bot lane still harassing that tower down. Mid lane
Harus emang enggak, tapi nggak tahu.
by BLG. The gold swings in their favor.
I think there is an angle for PSG though to create pressure on this top side.
Cannonnya kayak kurang damage dari tadi, makanya yang fight itu aja tadi langsung mati aja, damage juga kurang.
Emang Cannon nggak terlalu gimana soalnya. Harus combo bener-bener. Nggak cuma bisa Cannon sendiri doang kalau di sekarang tuh.
Dia ngepick buat lawan Aurora ya.
Faker yang mana? Udah nggak ada Faker cuy di game sebelumnya.
Lagi-lagi ultinya ke support.
Welcome tier I.
Betty tambah kaya dong.
Oke.
Udah boleh di shutdown tuh Ezreal. Guys.
Oh, nge-flank.
Aduh, flank. Bin nge-flank. Jaga belakangnya.
Sama kayak T1 tadi ngebokong gitu itu. Jak sih.
Wah.
Alah.
Mati langsung cannonnya.
Ya,
iya.
Johnny-nya di flash.
Yeay, tidak jadi 2-1 cuy.
Seneng banget tuh.
2-0 cuy.
Bang, katanya 300 view dukung PSG. Gimana sih?
400 anjir.
Oh, 400.
Nomor sama siapa, Kur? Sendirian cuy.
Elk needed to be that follow-up and damage, and he's putting PSG down.
Ya, dadah PSG. Pokingnya Ezreal dong.
Oh,
Pokingnya
wah,
dong.
hilang.
Let's go.
Hilang.
Nah, bye-bye. Ada Mbak Betty.
Terlalu agresif dia di ulti Aurora udah bengong.
Aurora ya. Apa sih tuh ultinya gede banget kan?
Tidak jadi 2-1 coy, bisa 2-0, bisa 2-0. Cepat pulang.
Wow.
Bagus banget tadi tontonannya.
Tapi aku emang nebaknya gini sih, pasti late game BLG menang sih. Emang nggak tahu dah.
Udah pasti, cuman yang gitu sih kalahnya jelek banget ya.
Berhasil menang BLG di ini cuy, di menit 97.
That would be a very different story.
Taking the dreams apart a little bit too
Menit 99 ya.
because that was a rough game to celebrate in all of you and the ways you have made League of Legends so much more than an esport during October's Player Days. Level up your fan signs for your favorite team with a free kit available for download on leagueoflegends.com.
Itu poster G2 Time to Go Home masih dipasang kan sama dia. Udah kelar juga mainnya. Oh iya, gak jadi dong win rate Yone.
Iya, kebetulan. John kayaknya masih paling gede sih. Gua nggak update lagi, cuma terakhir.
Sekali di shutdown udah kelar gamenya. Bang Betty.
Jujur.
Bahkan kelarnya bukan karena nge-shutdown dia.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Coach udah pesen tiket pesawat tuh.
Jitu berarti besok main lagi ya Jitu? Besok atau hari apa?
Kayaknya masih minggu depan deh.
Minggu
Masih
depan?
panjang aja non-stop ini.
Masih minggu depan dia.
Oke.
Fnatic dulu main sama WBG.
Besok Fnatic WBG.
Sama tim Liquid Jam.
Jam sih demen nonton nih.
Gambut.
Gam time.
Bentar. Oh enggak ada yang lusa.
Lusa tak?
Kayaknya lusa ada lagi. Iya lusa gitu. Yang sisa-sisa 22 semua diakhirin lusa.
Iya, ketemu PSG.
Lah, emang PSG hidup.
Oh iya pulang ya? Siapa dong?
Udah pulang gitu.
Oh ini HLI dong. Ini sih.
HLE tuh udah naik.
Bukannya kalah sama FlyQuest kemarin?
Hah? Enggak, 1-2. 2-1.
Oh 2-1, beda
FlyQuest
ini.
yang kalah ya.
Beda bracket.
Iya.
Enggak kan BO3. Si FlyQuest cuma nyuri 1 game doang.
난 악마예요. 지옥에서 왔죠. 여기부터 저기까지 다
Ini apa nih?
주세요. O 사이즈로.
The Judge from the Hell apa nih Lucifer anjir.
Elemen trading adalah daya misteri, kekuatan alam yang tak terprediksi. Kendalikan bersama Olymp Trade.
Berarti ntar quarter 2 minggu juga deh.
Sampai tanggal berapa nih non-stop nih? 12, 13, 14, tanggal 15, 16 libur. Terus tak kenapa tiba-tiba ada TFT juga ini.
Numpang promosi katanya.
Meanwhile, Wild Rift. Aku tenggelam. Tapi kayaknya LoL PC emang nggak pengen orang main Wild Rift deh.
Enggak tahu.
Nanti
Beda
pada
juga
pindah.
sih kayak targetnya.
Ini takut pada pindah gak sih?
Supernova. Over.
T1 main lagi kapan? Masih lama. Pas di quarter final nanti.
Paling minggu depan guys. Atau ada jeda
Final
seminggu
startnya tanggal 17.
Minggu depan guys.
Went in with the Zenith Blade himself, doesn't have the exhaust up now, he's taking the Magnus Zorn coming out as well, and what is Zorn doing? Woody trying to get the CC onto Shun to keep Betty alive. Shun holds it and dies in the end by Knight. Betty dashing back in between worlds. Knight can look for more. Maple dives in with a fate seal, but BLG will happily take the triple. The fate seal.
Anjir, di Vietnam live-nya di TikTok anjir. Kalau di Cina di mana nih? Di Douyin. Iya.
Di Cina biasanya viewernya di atas 1 juta gak sih?
Kalau Korea di Afrika TV.
Why?
Afrika TV anjing?
Why? Kok nyasar?
Afrika ya, emang itu dari dulu sih ya.
Ada Sub TV sama ada Naver.
If they come out and stomp game 2, I
Kalau
will be
ini
so
negara
mad
mana nih,
because
harap
this is
lah
the
ini.
BLG special,
Trovo.
right? Looking either like dropping the first game in a best of 3 or looking really shaky and then coming out and stomping. Credit to PSG. I thought Junja had an amazing early game.
Vietnam yang
I
pakai
thought
TikTok
they
dia.
had really good setups until the overextension on bot side at red buff. Yeah, which got Elk back
Lumayan
into
juga
the
Vietnam
game.
7.000 nonton.
And then we
Ada yang
had
ngegip lagi.
a lot of fighting.
Well, and I think the big thing for me is while there's so
Emang rame dah itu League PC di Vietnam.
find a way back to the game, and we
Fanbase-nya gede ya.
they were consistently out executing in the 5v5, right?
Yeah.
And it's so infuriating because PSG didn't need
Kenapa
to let
Vietnam
them
hebat
back in the
LoL-nya?
game.
Karena mereka cukup
Didn't.
kompetitif.
They were
ya.
in complete and total control. But they got hands dipped in a couple fights, and then BLG were back in the game and just continued to outperform.
And it rewards them. It rewards. this is my problem.
Oh, Emily's
It rewards
losing it.
Like,
Emily's
it's a
losing
fairy
it.
tale, but you've taken away the wrong
I'm
moral.
so used to this, and yet I get mad every time.
Well, we will look at some better replays then from BLG in our HyperX Reflex replay. It is the BLG Baron at 41 minutes in, at which point I think PSG had already squandered it just a little bit.
Yeah, certainly.
Yone's losing record is padded again.
I don't how to be critical. Maple's not very good at Yone. It's just the kind of long and short of it. He egregiously misplays in so many fights, and while at this point it's hard for him to do too much because BLG have found a way back to the game and kind of have the forward momentum as this play kicks off, you can see that there's a lot of desperation in the way PSG are playing, and this fight to me is kind of the last straw where I don't really think this was ever going to be a good fight. But this is the culmination, it's important to highlight for PSG, of so many little mistakes in previous fights where they were very favored to win.
Yeah, and in a game state where they were extremely favored to win with their composition as well. And I think that is what is so frustrating, because this is only a best of 3, right? 2 games and you're out, and you're not just out for today, you're out for the entire Worlds Tournament, and you have to turn that around. Are you confident that they'll be able to get similar leads, and are you confident that they would be able to close it out, or are we just dealing with a BLG that actually thrives in game states like this, although they wouldn't like to be behind?
Confidence meter in both of these teams is an
It's low.
interesting
It's
way
shaky.
of putting it.
It's shaky because I think Junja, like we highlighted, had a way better early game, way more impactful. The counter ganks were great, the early plays were great. Like this guy was a hero all throughout the early game. But then when they had a lead, they misexecuted. They picked some bad fights without complete information, and so it's a situation where PSG had all the tools to win, most certainly, and they just got sloppy in the execution.
Yeah, that overextension around red that literally got Elk back into the game was actually.
Gacha Kuta tuh enak atau asik gak sih nonton apa animenya?
And again, if that was the
Gacha Kuta.
the game was decided on a coin flip in 12 minutes, it would be a little bit more palatable because that's the one big moment, hey, you miscalculated, but they kept making
Dan bang, rame.
context of fights, and it puts them in a position where
Serius tuh serem dan.
Seru.
and it paid off, and it should not have.
Kata orang meh banget.
But multiple fights.
Justru itu beda sama yang lain.
Lah kok ke-reset goodjob rasanya kemarin baru main sih.
Overcommitting on an E where he doesn't have an angle, he's not stacking his
Apaan ke-reset?
If you are going to pick an S tier champion, you have to play it at an S tier level, and if you can't, you need to be willing to ban it away because the trade is not favored.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and then on the side of BLG,
What the hell is Miraibogo?
love this team so much when they can execute in team fights, right? Like they can be a massive team fighting team. We know just how good
Itu Miraibogo cuy yang kayak Power kemarin bisa reset mulu, ini males main.
Oh, mobile, Power World Mobile.
In their execution, I talked about their meta read at
Bukannya game online kamu bisa reset?
talk about it, but it's also just been their actual like execution in lanes, their execution
Kayak Minecraft kali, sistemnya.
understanding of the map.
Di save itu.
Shun was able to have the same impact early that Jinja was, certainly, and that would have been a massive difference maker if PSG had been able to close out. And now I'm really curious to see how BLG look going into the second game, because like I said, it has been a BLG classic where they've been able to come in and stomp.
They can bring it back, and they are up versus elimination, so they really have to. Here, it would be sad to see PSG go, but we'll see if they can bring it back in game 2.
That we will, because it is an elimination match, as they said so accurately on the desk. It's like, it is difficult to overstate what goes through the mind of a competitor when they know they might be eliminated from something they've worked the whole year towards. And for some people, have worked like years on years on years. Like Maple's been at Worlds since 2013. And now it may be his last dance. He said it in an interview that he was thinking about retiring. We don't know that for certain, but what a way to go out if it is. You almost win game 1 and then you lose game 2 to BLG and it's just over. It's poof, you know, it's just gone.
I think especially for Maple, when he's a guy who's previously made semi-finals, really pushed a lot of the LPL and LCK teams to the brink, and is now not only this tournament but at MSI been very close to taking down BLG as well. It's heartbreaking, but we'll have to see as we get into champs like Powered by Omen HyperX how this one is going to pan out, because I need to see something different coming through here. Corgi, the
Kamen Dragon Ball.
for
Gue nggak
PSG,
suka Dragon Ball coy.
Something from the back of his head. You guys are talking about mentality. I've been watching the player cams, and in contrast to the PSG cams, everyone is just smiling and laughing. They know they got away with murder in that last game, being able to come into this one one game up. So they have to be feeling great, you know. On red side here with a counter pick available to them, they were able to come into this one with a dub. They are not going to give you the option of the Yone or Aurora. On blue side PSG.
Nonton dari Zero, enggak, gue nonton dari Zero cuma beberapa episode doang, males gue nonton ulang-ulang terus. Berapa episode gue nonton 5 kayaknya.
Lebih ngantuk Hyoka kocak.
Kalau Hyoka dia nggak ngulang tetap lanjut.
Hyoka turun.
Ini ngulang terus pelaku MC-nya bodoh banget jadi males.
MC Iseka yang nggak bisa ngapa-ngapain literally.
Sama kayak ini yang anime isekai yang sangat realistis, grafiknya sangat bagus. Apa tuh judulnya?
Oh, Frieren.
Kan anime jadul gitu. Nggak jadul sih. Apa ya? Yang grafik itu agak glowing guys. Yang MC-nya itu dongo, nggak bisa ngapa-ngapain. Terus dia punya healer, tapi healernya itu mati. Bukan lah. Healernya itu mati, terus akhirnya digantiin sama healer baru, tapi healer baru itu jutek banget cuy.
Grimgar.
Ya Grimgar. Anjing underrated kontol apa capek banget gue ngeliat MC-nya sangat culun anjing.
Kenal itu anjir. Kenapa MC-nya?
Culun banget, terlalu lemah. Kayak nggak bisa apa-apa.
MC itu lemah dulu OP gitu bang.
Itu nggak OP anjir. Gue nonton sampai akhir, tapi nggak OP. Nggak nambah anjing.
Unik juga tuh.
Poppy now locked in as well for PSG.
Aja kayak gitu. Sampai ending.
So you also don't fully give away, right?
And the Poppy pick I really like as well because it denies something like the Callista, which could be taken here because it's already going to be a matchup that's decent for Ash in the top lane against the Jax, but it does deny a lot
Orang
of
pada
these other picks.
kuat-kuat,
Even things like
pada
the Kai'Sa
bagus-bagus,
can
mereka pada
struggle 'cause
miskin
that
aja.
steadfast presence can't block the ultimate, so makes things a little bit more difficult for Elkon when he wants to try and take these fights, but still going to go towards the Kai'Sa and still have that backline threat for what BLG are setting up as a dive.
All right, and then in protection bans, because Kai'Sa doesn't have the strongest of lanes.
Isekai itu tuh yang keren tuh, yang
some of those bullies down
bukan
there.
Isekai sih, yang main game itu tuh, yang OTW season 2.
No game no life.
Kan.
No game no life udah gak akan ada season 2 ya.
No,
PCP Naga ADC ya di mid paling dipakai. Sangri, ya Sangri Frontier cuy.
Oh Sangri lo bagus.
Tapi gue drop di episode berapa ya, malas lanjut.
Something like Callista Ranada on this next rotation. It's also something that can bully out the Kai'Sa and gives you that bridge to the later portion of the game.
Sangri yang kemana yang kepalanya kayak ayam burung gitu.
And then I think it becomes a question of what do you want to see for Betty. Maybe it is just the MF to try and go for, hey, Skarner grab into MF combo.
Itu isinya privilege banget anjing, bikin gue kesel juga.
Oshinoko nonton gak Oshinoko?
Enggak.
Abis AI-nya mati malas nonton anjir.
Itu episode 1 dong berarti.
Episode 1 bubar langsung.
AI-nya mati
kan,
malas nonton.
Oshinoko kan rilisnya pas lagi COVID kan. Anjir TikTok gue isinya itu doang, nggak perlu nonton, gue tahu ceritanya anjing.
Demi apa?
Gak penting banget, bangke lah.
Kan nonton pengen lihat AI-nya bang, AI-nya mati.
Dir, gue belum nonton cok.
Itu kayaknya bukan spoiler deh dia mati.
Iya, dia mati mah nggak mungkin orang nggak ada yang pernah ada yang pernah nggak denger tuh nggak mungkin aja.
Wih ada Jazz. Anjir, baru sekali Jazz di pick cowok itu pun kalah anjing.
Oh, Maple dapat smolder. Let's go.
Sebenarnya game Buka nggak terlalu realistis, tim dia aja yang ampas. Iya, realistisnya itu di tim merekanya doang, di tim yang lain mah pada OP-OP aja.
And this is something people were like theory crafting on the.
Itu bukan realistis berarti ya, adu nasib.
Gue lebih suka yang karakternya tuh yang OP atau enggak yang kerasa lah progresnya. Apalagi saya kayak rilis season ini cuy, nggak ada kan?
Tahu, gue udah nggak pernah ikutin isekai baru, bosen.
Nautilus the last pick here for BLG. Contributing to that death fund again. Betty and Woody went for the Zio Rakan, which gives you a little bit of safety as the Zio obviously later on with the feather sword.
Gak guna banget anjir ada isekai-isekai langsung bikin ini. Ya udah itu dunia magic gitu, udah. Dari awal lahir dunia magic gitu.
Iya,
jadi tinggal dikasih dikit aja isekai di awal dikit anjir udah kelar jadi anime isekai anjing.
Kenapa? Tapi rata-rata kan pada lupa dunia aslinya, jadi fantasi.
Iya makanya udah nggak ada lagi hubungan, nggak bakal balik juga, nggak ada ngapa-ngapain.
Orang Jepang demen itu bang, apa self insert. Nah, gue banget ini.
Aduh, Ari-Ari self insert.
They can do a lot of work in that position. You have a lot of
dan Maci gue nggak nonton. Nonton episode season 1 setengah kayaknya.
Dan Maci
sama
cuma
itu
tahu
juga karena MC-nya lemah banget.
Pernah pakai baju.
MC-nya lemah, habis itu ini tete mulu anjing, males banget. Tapi dan Maci MC-nya lumayan sih progresnya dibanding Grimgar sih.
Pushing BLG at MSI, pushing BLG in some games.
Kalau Tensura?
History really.
Tensura yang mana? Yang Musaku.
Tensura tuh itu yang slime.
Oh yang slime gue nonton, tapi gue nggak lanjut season 2 aja. Tapi itu bagus sih.
Oh season 3 lo nggak nonton?
Katanya rapat mulu itu.
Season 2 gue nggak nonton juga.
Anime rapat katanya.
Anime rapat
nggak tahu.
Iya bisa dibilang sih.
I feel like Shun in this game.
Gua suka Tensura gara-gara gua nonton Konosuba aja ya.
Really good lanes to
Nah,
play.
Gue nggak nonton Konosuba, berisik kan yang MC-nya. Bukan
fierce.
MC-nya berisik, si ceweknya itu tuh. Anjing berisik banget.
Oh, itu Le Mineral.
Kenapa Le Mineral?
Aqua.
Oh iya. Dikit-dikit teriak anjing. Sempak mulu lah bangke.
Justru lebih realistis itu aja. Si apa? Itu tuh Konosuba jadi MC lebih realistis paling kayak gitu sebenarnya.
5 of their 8 first games in their series, so almost losing to PSG in game 1 is kind of what we come to expect from them.
Blok Horizon anime rapat dari awal emang politik dia
Really slow
anime.
starts to series and then start to ramp it up.
That's why the best of ones just not their thing.
It's just curse for them, right?
Yang
I
kalau nggak
think
itu tuh
definitely the
apa sih namanya Overlord.
there is a bit of a meme
Overlord,
there, but it is
itu udah jatuhnya udah nggak bisa dinilai anjir. Bagus tuh.
and also then coming into what the meta has been. So I think BLG definitely have a lot if they manage to
Blok
beat
Horizon gue
PSG
juga
down
drop
here
sih yang
to
season
learn
yang
before
baru-baru
they,
ini
as they start to
karena
move on, even over the course of this
udah
weekend,
nggak
right?
dapet lagi gue
We'll have
feel
to see how
ininya
that
politiknya
adaptation
aja
goes.
malas
We
gue.
get another different pick for Knight, something that we haven't really seen coming through, but we'll have to see if the Jace is going to find and work wonders for him in this one.
I mean, it's something Knight has, quite a bit of experience on. One of his top 10 most played, 76% win rate on it across the
It
course
was
of
one
his
of the
career.
big flexes.
Lo Skeleton nggak nonton Bang Bro?
Champions on top esports, they would flex things like the Jace, and then Knight would bring out something like a Zoe.
Yang dia jadi skeleton itu ya.
Ya.
Now working instead with conjunction with
Seru,
Elk,
tapi
I
bosan.
think it is going to be something that he'll feel right at home at if he can just find some of that early success. As
Emang
Kobe
anime
was
udah
already saying,
bosan-bosan
the
macam.
ability to play around Shun, go into melee form, stack the passive
Saatnya
Sun, or the
nonton
Stage 1, he's gonna be
Korea
perfect for
cuy.
BLG.
Korea nggak bikin bosan cuy.
Maple currently getting the push in the mid lane. It's like Junja took a long route.
Apalagi anime bagus lah.
Breaking
Iya
Bad,
bagus.
Kuro, Breaking Bad. Gila.
Aku
itu
lagi nonton Breaking Bad sekarang.
Masterpiece, bener-bener.
Where's Shun is?
Kan gue kaget ya, anjing gue nonton 5 season, what the fuck, ternyata cuma 7 episode aja satu season.
Tapi
Gue
kan
sekarang
buat
baru masuk season 2.
udah ini ya, udah jadi bandar ya.
Cuman ya ini, ketahuan banget itu anime jadul aja dari ini. Pokoknya pas nonton, aduh ini jadul banget anjir caranya.
Apa kan itu kan film
Tapi
yang
sesuai dengan
kesannya
yang
kenapa mesti
Netflix
di
ya,
filter
kan?
kuning ya? Layarnya kuning semua.
Towards it. Shun actually
Yeah.
looking for the mid lane instead, deciding he doesn't want to battle over the top side Scuttlecrab. Instead, he will go down to
Belum ada yang diubah kan itu dari Netflix ya kan, Breaking Bad.
reset to get his cull to then move up as
Udah
well.
kayaknya.
Looks like Junja
Itu Kuro harus selesain buru-buru loh. Februari dicabut dari Netflix itu.
Emang iya kenapa?
Kontraknya habis.
Oh, kontrak.
After he killed off those last couple of minions, because the Skarner is one of the few junglers that actually still loves, well,
Gue karena nonton anime itu jadi kepikiran anjing jangan-jangan gue kena kanker paru-paru juga nih. ID bagus juga nih, gue bikin
Let's
med
go,
juga
jualan
apa gue.
Kuro. The Blue.
Betty and Woody having the wave pushed
Gue
up.
sampai cari anjir ciri-ciri kanker paru-paru bangsan.
Fishing for.
This is dangerous though. Junja trying to
Sama rambutnya Kuro sama produknya si Mr. White.
But Shun will arrive in time to flash away from Junja.
The Blue. Belum nyampe season 2 ya?
Summoner for the next 5 minutes.
So Junja
Oh udah
reading correctly, the Shun is gonna try
udah
go
pakai
for the
yang match
respawn of
versi
this
lama nih.
Blue.
there, but having to burn his flash makes this Skarner way less threatening on a dive or a gank even. Now Shun over around bot side again. He's gonna reset. Shun off to a nice start in this matchup.
and again, he's got lanes that want to fight. He's got the flash advantage over enemy jungle. It just
Terus
seems
gue juga nyoba ini
primed
Lucifer
right
katanya
now.
bagus banget. Gue sering banget muncul di TikTok gue dulu. Terus pas banget kemarin muncul di TikTok katanya itu kalau lu suka Conan coba lu nonton Lucifer. Wah seriusan nih, gue tonton. Pantai ini mah detektif adik-adik anjing.
Now they'll be able to do it. Junja path towards his plug, so he
Gue
can
nonton
be
berapa
there
episode,
first, but
skip
it's
lah
going to be
Lucifer.
about 200, 300 gold at the end of all things. And that's
Nonton
with
Conan
having
tuh
the reset to get his cull.
macam nonton Stand Gate, Jo. Harus pelan-pelan, nggak bisa cepat.
Kuro kalau demen Conan nonton ini, Knives Out.
Itu Korea.
Enggak, itu masterpiece itu. Kayak Sherlock Holmes gitu.
They're moving the Skarner here to show his face onto
Inggris,
bot side, just
Barat apa Korea?
Iya, British.
Kriano o ao. Amerisa Uara.
I love that point especially because On does this so much. Where he
Kalau pemain LoL jago atau Mobile lainnya emang merupakan seseorang yang punya IQ di atas 100. Nggak tahu sih, tapi IQ gue 110. Menurut gue tes IQ itu bisa ditingkatin sih, dinaikin sih. Gue pas tes IQ ya, gue nggak punya pengetahuan tentang tes IQ sama sekali cuy. Gue nggak pernah ngeliat tes IQ sama sekali. Hari itu lagi demam, lagi flu. Terus dapat 111. Terus pas gue tanya teman gue, baru dikasih tahu, oh kalau tes IQ kayak gini tuh caranya gini. Lah, kayak begitu tuh sistemnya, gue nggak tahu anjing. Tapi masih dapat 111, masih oke lah cuy. Enggaknya tidak seperti IQ Monkey ya.
Woody joining the battle as well. Bin still keeping that grub aggro. Shun has his smite back up and can get the Scuttle Crab and the grub as well.
But that was kind of what you want to see from BLG, this slow pace.
IQ Indonesia rata-rata bukan 78 sih, kalau nggak salah 92 ya. Yang 178 itu tidak kurang valid.
Yang masih megang rekornya siapa? Bapak almarhum Bibi.
Bibi mah nggak seberapa IQ-nya dibanding anak-anak Mongolia.
Kan aing bilang make Indonesia.
Oh, Indonesia. Nggak tahu.
Well, actually Skarner heading back over. We'll see if he just clears out.
I think he's just going to his camps. I really think he wants to challenge
IQ
this.
111.
It's so interesting how many things kind of domino into each other in that bot lane, right? Like Elk getting the reset, then being able to freeze it out. He has the color. It's already 49
tes tahun kapan itu?
so he's over
Udah lama
halfway
sih,
towards
2000
completing
berapa
it.
ya?
But because of the way
13
that they then push the lane out, see Junja actually getting caught here as Jun going in for the engage on with a great hook, and Junja falls for first blood.
And to your point, Medic, this is what Prime BLG looks like. This movement from On,
waduh, mau kemana nih? Dia bisa terbang nembus ini kan ya?
so then he can get out and work his magic. And now Maple is running, hoping that he can find some sort of way to teleport into the jungle. But short of magic or a miracle, I think he might be done for.
And he gets clipped as well by the accelerated shock blast, meaning an execute is no longer an option for Maple. Shun should be able to chase him down, who dash across the wall with a flap. Knight still chasing here, Glacial Prison used just to make sure that this dragon is going.
Sampai ke base anjir.
Knight will secure the kill, his second.
Lumayan, nggak usah recall katanya.
Coba tes lagi Kur, siapa tahu turun. Bisa jadi sih. Tapi IQ mah nggak terlalu penting aja. Kalau masih sekitaran di bawah 120, 130 mah sama aja itu paling.
And I think this is where you get to see BLG kind of continuing up on this pressure. The fact that again On is free, he's controlling that wave bot side, sets up for Elk. He's going to take over to level 6 fairly soon and can start to move up towards Void Grubs in a little bit. That's a little cheeky Ultra Magi though, denying Bin access to this wave, but now has no ultimate if Shun wants to try and move up here into this top side. So yeah, I think he rightfully kind of backs away after picking up the pace.
Perfect damage calculation.
Ini skin text apa sih jelek banget pada pakai beginian semua lagi.
And they're gonna need that money because BLG, like, their whole comp is set up for late game front to back team fights. You know, BLG have poke advantages. BLG have options for later for pushing on sides as well. So PSG trying to funnel all their money, kind of huddle together.
Yang pak sih, gue lupa.
Apa?
Yang PAX gitu, nggak tahu.
Oh, skin turni itu.
Soalnya Jack kan di rework, modelnya beda semua, jadinya gue nggak ingat. Kemungkinan skin lama.
Nice. Coba aja kalau maknya sih itu diliatin dikit ya atau apa kayak gitu. Bayangannya juga bahkan nggak ada ya?
Enggak.
And now for something like the Void Grubs, Maple has no real access, so that should be going to BLG's way as well.
This is exactly the game I was envisioning for Shun when we kept talking
about
Dream for him. He got the Sejuani, he's got all these lanes I want to fight. This is him definitely executing quite well on it.
Jadi gua taunya Baulan, Jo. Pemain IG dulu.
You know, really close sort of games where BLG looked like they're on the ropes. PSG obviously picking up a couple there.
Skill project, jir, butek banget, jir.
Agak. Jax gak ada project.
Pandal
Jax.
It's interesting to see that.
Pandal.
And interesting to see how BLG kind of wake up across the course of the series.
Project ada Bapak, Jax.
Oh iya, cuman bukan itu sih.
Bukan itu, kalau project mah skill 3 kan udah kayak apa namanya, kayak bukan elektrik apa namanya, kayak project gitu kan.
Ini intinya kalau itu project terlalu jelek udah itu aja.
Shun getting caught up here. PSG trying to fight it. Bing going in with the counter strike. Woody misses, but gets the charm. Doesn't get the knock up, and now he needs to get the hell out of there. Depth charge.
Wah, kena lagi anjir.
Under the ground, Knight finds another double.
IQ tinggi tapi nggak ada IQ, jadi orang pintar pakai ignoran. Biasanya kan emang kalau IQ tinggi emang ignoran
He
kan.
loves his stacking stacks, and he's managed to stack up a huge amount already. The Murder Book is what he's most known for in the LPL, which is obviously the Magi, that he's able to get a ton of kills for, but now having the hubris as well, he's just doing the exact same thing.
Bang, ngapain bang sendirian bang? Wish nice banget dodges. Wish.
Manages to escape the 2v1 in the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big investment, but well played by Elk in response to both of those. It's kind of, 1-for-1 on trades for ultimates and flashes used there, with Woody investing everything. Maybe that can open up a place for PSG to attack. It's so difficult because setup with a teleport. Maybe they...
So Betty has no Featherstorm, but does have a cleanse and a flash. On's trying to get on top of him.
Oh, walaupun War mati tetap bisa teleport anjir.
And the dredge line onto Woody, who dashes back to the battle dance and escapes. Well played by the PSG.
Yang penting Warnya belum dibersihin aja.
Out of dodge.
Yeah, the point that I wanted to focus on though was the 5 grubs now being hit for BLG, because that's going to open up so much threat on these side lanes with Knight and Bane.
Iwan berapa kosong
Focused on
tadi?
the poke.
2.
Knight being this far ahead, you can see it on the side of your screens. He's just going to be such a menace in a side lane push, and now having that burn off of 5 grubs as well, Maple just won't be able to stack up. And sure, he's getting a little bit back for himself here with Junja and also Aja keeping control on mid, but as the game goes on, I think BLG have a lot of winning answers to PSG's questions.
As a side note, Bin for a little bit of a fight here. Should be able to force Azure out of this bush. Goes in with the counter strike. Dives in onto Maple. The quickness coming out as they look to dive onto to Knight. Mom is called. Azure on the front line. BLG will disengage. But yeah, as a side note, every fight is like something's gonna happen. Nah, it's fine. Hubris. Basically what it does, it gives you lethality and attack damage, and then if a champion you have done damage to dies, you get a big burst of extra AD for the next 90 seconds, and that can stack up as well, right? So you get stronger through the course of the fight, through your hubris, which is probably why the item was named that way.
Makes sense.
Yeah. You used to make little golden statues in the fountain, and then
a lot of them.
That made me sad. I love the little golden statues. As Junja tries to hover around this bot side to keep this tower alive. Maple's here as well. Shun is going to meet him. Impale lands onto one. The dredge line short from on. Elks though still looking for the plate. There's one minion still alive.
Ya, ada orang lagi di situ.
We'll have a grand entrance and give on a grand exit.
I mean, that's actually big. Any bit of gold that
ping ini suara pingnya ada tapi nggak ada chat pingnya.
Could be very big for their dream of team fighting their way out of it. And Shin is going to be able to execute no problem, does get all the way into enemy territory, so no further benefit gain there, but still, even being able to Skarner ult under tower, find up 1 kill. Yeah, you could also point out that these funnels, Medic, are not in the correct places. This one
War immune damage kalau dipakai tele, mau sama kayak minion.
Right, but anything here for PSG.
Habisnya damage lagi nggak ada ini terakhir.
Where they can actually use their fight.
But the Rift Herald could be that footing. Shun's still dead. Junja coming back onto the map. Rift Herald is up and available. And this could be a moment where they
Midnya jauh banget anjir gara
you
ini
can see the
sih.
Mascar lane economy snapshot. Knight is massive right now. And even if you don't have Shun here for the start, the poke and the control that he offers is a little bit terrifying for PSG.
Knight gets the push out of top side. They're going to group up around the Rift Herald right now. Bin doesn't have a TP. Azure does. Azure, of course, can keep Bin around.
Itu skill apa ya di Rakan ya, kok keren banget, item.
Yang mana?
Itu yang ada di shield.
Bubble itu ya. Kayak crown, cuman bedanya ini ngurangin damage doang.
Item itu.
Item support.
The engage with the glacial prison. Featherstorm coming out from Betty. Quickness from Woody. They're looking for On, but the depth charge will lock him up for a second. On now, sacrificed by BLG. as PSG managed to find a kill. Bin still pushing in the bot side. Jun being chased out by Aja, but doesn't quite land the stun into the wall.
Wah ya di flash.
Has the cleanse, but goes for Knight instead. Pulls him back with the damage. Is Aja right now. The keeper's verdict is that Knight is guilty. His hubris has been his downfall as Junja puts him 6 feet under.
There's no way BLG had the correct timer on Aja's teleport. I feel like.
Beneran bisa memberi perlawanan anjir PSG cuy. What the fuck is this bro?
Had gotten the smite there. This is huge for PSG.
Also, just great decision making from PSG. We talked about the potential poke and everything else that come through from BLG, but in a straight up 5v4.
Ya, tapi ntar ujung-ujungnya juga late game sih Kaisanya ntar lawan FIFA sih.
BLG group up.
Kaisanya mah nunggu item ntar ya.
Woody putting pressure on towards the back line, and it's the engage on towards on here that really spells disaster for them as Aja TP's in. On goes down, but trying to even get away from this. They think they're safe under the tower. Maybe they can start to poke back, but the front line of PSG is so tanky. Elk only has the static shiv, and it's the turn on to Knight that really seals the deal.
I thought we've been warning about this PSG team fight. Fully grouped. They're the ones with
Ada bounty soalnya.
extra of teleport advantage, and they make it work. That is not a mistake that you kind of give lightly here.
And even the silver lining of getting bot tower was just answered by top for PSG. Now, BLG will get this tower, but you can already look at bot side and see that PSG are going to trade as well. So what had been a good start for BLG is really starting to...
Sama kayaknya gara-gara pas tadi yang di mid sih nge-flash, makanya biar lebih gampang.
Has the keeper's verdict in a few seconds, still has his flash. Betty trying to come across as well. He's met with Knight. The accelerated shock blast doing a lot of work on, looking for that turret TP coming in from PSG as they look to collapse. On not tanking the tower yet.
Kalah lagi dong itu tim fight-nya.
Coming out, there's the quickness. It's only onto the tank so far, but onto the first target. Glacial Prison coming down as well with Slow Maple for a second, but Junja's here to join the battle.
Satu-satu kan.
PSG find another bin, is pinged to hit that mid lane tower, but there's still a couple of seconds before he can get on it. Benny's going to try and answer him. He has the demolish and 5 grubs.
Terakhir
It will be enough to take the turret.
But it's the exact same thing again. BLG not respecting how quickly PSG can get across the map. They reset on map.
Goes for Elk. Gets the cleanse out of him in exchange for his flash. Junja and Woody though can look for this, and Elk back in a precarious situation. Junja just go for the Kaiser killer instinct.
Oh my god. What? Udah gak bisa nge-flank sekarang gitu Jax-nya.
In the end, PSG don't find the kill, but they burn both of Elk's summoners.
The biggest thing too, the objective on the map is all the way on the other side, so PSG gonna have to recall now to reset and run over there. They were pinging it. Dragon number 3 starts to get a little worrisome. You know, BLG, since they already had the Void Grubs and the 2 dragons going their way, if they can put this extra pressure on you by grabbing number 3 and the threat of the soul point, it would still be huge. But PSG, another team fight victory, and that one was, again, off another teleport from them. Let's see them try and just force their way in. They do have to face check, but they can do that because they're so tanky.
And they know Knight's top, and they know that Elk is bot lane, right? So Knight still has the TP, but right now, PSG get control of the river with their numbers advantage. Betty's going to be able to push out mid, can open up on that tower as well. BLG going to send Elk across to try and answer the pressure in mid.
I don't think BLG are going to fight this, though. They're just looking for that tier 2 in top, trying to accelerate this chase even further. PSG, not really sure how they want to approach this. Aja has his teleport up, but he's still going to run there. Terra goes down, and now if this Hoppy shows on the wave, Jace TP's in.
There's the TP in. Aja can TP as well, will answer with one of his own. BLG moved up as 4 for now. Bin's going to join them. Junja trying to get in towards the pit to take the Drake. Unlocked up. The caller coming back as well, and Junja will land the smite. But Woody goes down first. Shun and Bin, the next 2 targets. It's support for support so far. Azure still looking for a little bit more. Knight trying to put the damage down from long range. That's what we talked about with this composition, their ability to poke, but in this fight, they haven't really had the opportunity to do so. Junja can look for a little bit more. Chucks a rock across the wall and hits. Knight
di Malaysia nama kuenya udah hitam, Cok. Udah hitam tuh coklat cake. Keren.
Yeah, I mean, Jace can try and poke, but you've got 2 fat tanks in front of you. Can't really get around them. Forces the flash with just the raw Skarner ultimate, and PSG, another one.
And the Dragon off the back as well. Junja with these smite steals has been exceptional this series, and getting the better of Shun once again. This is where BLG TP Knight in, but because Knight wasn't there, the poke damage isn't really enough, so PSG still healthy enough to go for the immediate engage. On too far forward, he gets knocked up by Woody, and the steal comes through from Junja. On falls, and now BLG trying to play this slow. Kite back, look for the poke, look for the damage, but as Kobe was just saying, Aja and Junja are just too tanky at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they like locked up Junja. You know, he's like stunned up there, but he took almost no damage. And he's like, well, I'm already next to the dragon. It's fine.
Just stay here.
He's calm and collected. He's like, I don't have to worry about moving. I'll just land the smite and then brute force. With this composition, brute force is the way you want to play, and that's how PSG have just forced their way back in.
And it's a great build from Junja for exactly that reason. You see when the win probability powered by AWS goes down, but he hasn't gone for the hard steal that we've traditionally seen in a lot of Skarners. It's been the Zeke's convergence into Warmogs. Warmogs is one, great against all the poke, but the Zeke's in this instance as well just helps keep everyone slowed and close to you. And when PSG are trying to chase down these members of BLG, it's exactly what you need. So great decision making from Junja on this build for this game.
2 items on him, 2 as well for Maple with the Manamuna in the Spear of Sojin, 2 as well for Knight, or 2.5 with the Last Whisper in his inventory. Maple still sacking up a little bit slow as the hook goes down onto Junja. There's the double impale.
Let's go, satu sama.
Look at the CC.
Anjir.
Lah?
Ya.
Anjir sakit banget. Enak banget itu sih ini.
Somehow survives through the burn, through everything. Elk is still standing. Oh, Betty.
Bahkan punya Baron pun masih rungkat ini.
So close, but they fumble it there. Elk able to survive, BLG able to survive and fight them off.
We do start.
Keren sih sayanya, cuman kurang setitik begitu.
Because going for these sorts of plays just sets up for PSG to play with their strong front line. The damage coming through from Woody is insane here in these close quarter fights because he gets so much.
Jace-nya free hit.
Great flash from Betty, but look at the health.
Kayaknya itu damage Aisyahnya juga sih itu maksud dua orang damage-nya jadinya.
Damn. Lemas dah PSG.
I think that would have killed him so close, but I love the fact that Betty's feeling himself enough to go for those sorts of plays in a series like this when your world spot is on the line.
Yeah, he had so many feathers down. He wanted the biggest of blade callers. Just needed a tiny bit more.
Behind. Elk not here. Knight the first target. Azure locks him up for a second. Ongoing forward as well. Azure still trying to chase Knight out. Bin here to join the party as on flashes away.
Demen banget kalau lihat Poppy ulti.
Anjir, tele.
Mampus lu. Gua makan dulu ulti baru gua flank katanya.
Geli banget lihat Jack flank emang kesel banget ya.
Dia kesel dipulangin terus ya. Ya udah pulangin gue terus gue tele.
Oh gitu mainnya Poppy. Siap.
BLG in this fight, and that will be the Baron taken for the LPL.
BLG. I'm sure their fans were not worried at any moment in any game in this series.
No, can tell you, not at all.
Honestly, though, now with Baron buff, it should start to look smooth again for them. They did have a very, very good start to this game.
BLG itu kepanjangan Blade Gaming, coy. Gak tahu gue.
Bilibili.
Bukan, Bilibili.
Oh ya, Bilibili anjir.
BS Station ini cuy, yang nyebarin anime.
Yang membocorkan Arkan. Bukan itu mana?
Hey.
Loh, apa itu?
Hey.
Gue lagi nih ngomong makanan Malaysia jadi trigger aja ngomong Arkan.
Bilibili Gaming ini apa maksudnya invited atau mewakili negara ya?
Visi Versa bilang jangan tidur
main
dulu
Rajin langsung
Purwola.
masuk kan?
Do not want to fight BLG once more.
And the important thing for the poke comp is to be ahead of the curve in terms of items, in terms of damage, and that's exactly where BLG are now. 6,000 gold their lead.
Dibilang invited, ya invited. Mewakili negara juga mewakili negaranya cuy. Gimana nih? Nggak ngerti gue maksud bedanya.
Dia LPL 1 guys, pasti masuk World lah.
Doing exactly that onto Woody and Junja and just constantly putting down.
LPL number 1.
And every comp with a Bin Jax is just a Bin Jax comp as well. Especially if you have a Sejuani, but he's over 2,000 gold ahead now as well, working on the Frozen Heart, so he can be a tank in the middle.
On looking for the hook here onto Azure, goes in with the depth charge as well. He's impaled, the quickness on the backline, but already BLG have taken one kill
Udah Bang Bin.
Ya.
Bang Bin. Udah Bang. Bang.
Ya, lompat deh.
Bim wasn't even really needed, just forces PSG away. Now the tier 2 in the bot lane, the target for BLG.
There's a nice attempt from PSG, but Bin on the flank sets up for BLG to take the fight. Now he's back on towards mid.
Tim Southeast Asian ada Bang kayak King Indo. Ada Gam doang Vietnam.
Anjir dapet.
Tas. Lompat nggak sih? Nice. Enggak, ada NA, Eropa, Europe, Latin, Vietnam, Taiwan, Korea, Cina.
I mean, he's a boxer, right? So he just has to dodge everything, but he still gets hit by everything. Maybe it's more the Homer Simpson approach to boxing, where he just absorbs everything. The Sunder Sky then goes in, and there's just no real follow, because the Counter-Strike denies all of the auto attacks, and Maple goes down.
Look how close he was to the execute there. So close to that line.
Maple knows.
What can you do but laugh at the end?
3,000 gold ahead, Knight the same. Overall, BLG cresting over towards that 10k gold lead that so often is insurmountable. And for PSG, it is a world's full of maybes and what-ifs. They've been close on so many occasions. Obviously, done well to get to 1 and 2, but
biasanya 1-2 di Liga auto qualified ke World, kalau 3-4 diadu lagi.
Iya, kayak kemarin T1 lawan Telekom.
As Ginger goes in with the impale, the quickness coming out as well is stopped by the depth
sama T1 kalah sama DK kan.
Even he can't rectify this situation, can't bail them out. The bait caller.
Tapi si Faker balas dendam tau sama si itu yang temen dia. Dia main Yasuo kan buat ini, buat flexing.
Oh iya.
Wah, anjir.
Siapa
itu
kaptennya menang World?
Gara-gara musuhnya nge-flash ya?
Enggak, dia nge-predict gitu. Dia loncat terus pas musuhnya flash ikutan flash ya.
Ya, sudah ketebak hasilnya ya.
Yeay, BLG menang, udah pasti coy.
Wow.
Mungkin PSG coy.
Yeah.
Tapi oke lah, tadi sempat ngasih perlawanan sedikit ya. Mungkin karena BLG-nya juga kayak meremehkan juga tadi cuy. Santai-santai.
Completely unrelated, but if there's any player champion combo that you want a world
lagi ya, orang lagi meta baju putih, lu pakai baju dongker aja.
Agak ngaruh anjir. Gak ngaruh.
Itu metanya kayak gitu. Kalau pakai
oh iya, putih menang mulu.
Enggak, putih
Terima
menang
kasih
mulu,
Talon karena Talon telah rungkat.
Rio transis cu.
Kemarin T1 pakai hitam, 2 tahun lalu BRX pakai putih.
Doing these things on Jax, and he is also our Uppo player of the series. We went back and forth, and I just wanted to give it to him because of that moment where PSG.
Kalau pulang diajak ngobrol dulu sih.
And then they actually give him the.
Pulang diajak ngobrol dulu.
I think that was sick.
Gimana perasaan kalian? Kita sudah memberikan yang terbaik, jadi minta maaf kepada enggak ya?
Template banget saya dengar.
Terima kasih kepada fans. Di selanjutnya kami akan memberikan yang terbaik.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Yeah, here he comes. He's just gonna come in right on.
Anjir gila.
Emang free pick Jax emang free ban sih, gak pernah di ban dah.
You'd see
karena mereka pikir bisa counter Jax.
Or they'd get like an advantage because BLG would overstep or they'd go into a choke. And he got so much gold because they were just like, no, Ben, you stay bot lane, you get that turn.
Sama yang kayak tadi Jitu kan dipaksa nge-push, dikasih nge-push kan. Toto ada si Zeus dari belakang.
Iya anjir.
TP anjir, jijik banget itu. Najis.
And then comes in, it gets even further.
It's actually crazy because I think that a lot of people will be like, oh, this is just been on Jax.
Gaming
Look at him in
Dream
isolation.
Smart.
It's been Jax, there's no question. But you really have to appreciate how many situations the team was in where Ben didn't show up for the team to get more gold, so he could be this late game threat. Everyone on BLG conceded advantages to put him in that position so he could make a montage out of PSG players.
I know the interview with Knight is coming up, but he was one of those players. We were like, what are you doing? Apparently just feeding my Jax. Okay.
Yeah, you would think that it's all a genius bait, some would say. You could say questionable itemization, or you could say he put a target on himself by building hubris, which gave Bin the freedom. It's just, I'm so coping. Please.
Kalau di Indonesia nasi kerabu itu apa sih? Ada yang tahu nggak? Kalau di Indonesia itu nasi kerabu itu apa di Indonesia?
Nasi prami?
Kerabu.
Kerabu.
Yes.
I think we saw this at
Apa tuh kerabu?
previously when Knight was looking super strong. This is a pick he's defaulted to. When it came to that point in the draft, I was like, oh, he's gonna bring in the Jace special.
And he's standing by with Laura in the Verizon post-game interview.
Dia nasi warna biru gitu dia. Kalau di
Welcome
Malaysia.
back to the stage for this post-game interview with Knight and Wendy. Thank you so much for joining me. Ni hao. It's been an amazing series, but also a lot of back and forth between you and PSG. Can you talk me through the expectations you had coming in today against this team?
Kurus banget kayaknya anjir.
Main push rank terus itu bang.
所以说也想问一下，在面对到 PSG 的这场比赛，你们有什么样的一些期待呢？
其实我们赛前是想抱着没有那种压力去打的，但可能打的时候还是会有点压力。
Iya Mas aku itu
希望我
cuy.
们接下来比赛就都没有压力吧。
So maybe before today's game,
Mas aku produk Chinese ya.
this kind of mindset like, okay guys, have no pressure, but actually playing on stage, we feels like there's still some pressure on our shoulder. So hopefully in the future we can fully enjoy the moment of playing on
Bagus
stage.
banget itu translatornya bajunya. Cute.
I will follow up on this a bit later, but I wanted to ask, why Shun instead of Wei today?
但是还是想要问一下，为什么今天是勋而不是打野威呢？
也是我们整个赛训组的，就训练赛选出来的人吧，就赛训组安排的。
Artinya apa Kur? Kita telah berjuang sebaik mungkin katanya. Kami akan memberikan performa yang lebih baik untuk lawan kami selanjutnya. Supaya kami bisa qualified katanya.
Habis ini tes Hanwa ya?
Enggak.
Bukan. Besok.
Tes Hanwa masih ke depan. Emang udah ditentuin juga ya lawannya?
Enggak tahu dah.
想问一下，为什么会选择杰斯这个英雄？觉得在今天的这场比赛当中，为什么他会是一个比较好的选择？未来我们在赛场上会不会看到更多的杰斯登场呢？
我觉得杰斯这版本在中斗的话是有点逆版本的吧。我个人选择杰斯，可能是因为我杰斯玩的比较。
DK Fly Quest 呀。
接下来就要考虑这英雄是否比赛上好不好吧，感觉没那么强。
Fly Quest.
To be honest, I really feel Jace is out of meta a little bit at Worlds, but it's actually the champion I'm very confident with. I really got the confidence in. Because of this, I pick it on stage today, but in the future, I like to rethink about my choice as well because I think Jace may not be a very strong pick here on stage.
All right, you talk about confidence, and I want to follow up on this because I don't feel like BLG has been playing to the fans' expectations.
Karena kemana 18 skor apa tuh?
Is this a confidence stage issue or is there anything else going on for you guys?
那其实你刚才也提到了，
Nah, ditanya sama dia, lu top up di mana sih biasanya yang murah, aman dan terpercaya? Soalnya sekarang banyak orang yang kena tipu top upnya nih. Pas sudah top up ternyata poinnya jadi minus gitu. Nah, lu ada rekomendasi nggak mungkin dari lu atau teman-teman lu? Wah, lu panjang banget nanyanya anjing. Sampai bingung gua ngisinya.
Ketahuan tuh ngawurnya translate.
Mau ngawur.
Jadi kalau gue sih biasanya top up itu kan di kurohikotop.com ya. Itu jadi tuh punya YouTuber gitu, punya Vtuber indie gitu. Di situ harganya murah.
So I think why we have some fluctuation maybe here on stage is because there's some players with not that kind of experience. So sometimes we still be a little bit nervous playing here, and definitely we're going to use our stage performance to prove ourselves and also use a stage performance to just enjoy the games.
Do you have one final message to the Western fans, Knight?
那最后有没有什么想对大家说一点的呢？
Thank you very much. We are fighting.
We are fighting. BLG.
Thank you very much. We are fighting.
Thank
you very much. We are fighting.
And BLG moves on to the next stage.
They stay in it, indeed. They're not quite in quarterfinals yet. May I just
Oke, sudah kita nobar hari ini, coy. Thank you semuanya sudah nonton, thank you yang sudah like, thank you yang sudah subrek, thank you sudah donate, thank you sudah super chat, thank you Murata sudah bekerja, thank you juga Nardi, KD dan juga Red. Kita ketemu lagi di live atau video berikutnya, guys ya. Thank you guys.
Nonetheless.
Yeah.
8 bits konten kreator TikTok Wilder kemana? Oh, kayak meninggal deh.
8 bit Z ya?
At least in studio, we've heard things.
We can give him whatever the reason is.
Gak tau dia kemana cuy.
Well, today was a hot mess. I think at this point, if you're BLG, you're happy to get the wins where you
Satu-satunya champion yang suka ngerot.
Building this momentum as we go forward in the tournament, especially because like again, we highlighted this is a tournament where Jax is blind pickable and BLG
Satu-satunya champion
best team in the LPL.
Oke bang, makasih, gak usah makasih anjing. The fuck?
And I think as we look
Tidak ada kabar dari dia cuy.
some of these highlights,
Gak ada pengocokan apa?
is that when it did come
ya 2-2 Swiss.
the team fights, the way they
Belum kan besok. Murahnya kok ngilang. Ya udah lama hilang cuy. Udah lebih berbulan-bulan.
especially compared to expectations. This is the top laner that we kind of
Oke guys, thank you semuanya guys.